How's it going, everyone? It's Willy here, and welcome to another episode of But Why. I've once again dragged the bozo that is Sky into another episode, and once again,
Y in
it's
Sky for but why?
oh wow, that's crazy. You can rhyme. That's insane. Let's put that up on the
Most people can't even
refrigerator.
do that, dude. Fact.
Actually, so I was being serious.
Okay.
Anyways, so what we're doing today is it's another Overwatch themed subject. I asked Sky to go over every hero that is in Overwatch and either buff or buff, nerf, and change them. So we both have lists of things that we would do for every single hero. We're gonna start with Ana here. How would you buff Ana, Sky? Or
Hecker?
if you would even buff
Oh,
Ana.
you lied there.
Oh, did I? You just went Hecker?
Yeah.
No. I asked. Okay, I
Okay.
said.
So the only change that I would make to Ana, I feel like Ana is in a really solid spot almost all the time.
Mhm.
I don't think she needs a movement ability. I feel like that takes away some of the risk in playing Ana. And my goal here is not to make every hero viable in every situation. That's just never going to work.
Mhm.
So the only thing that I change is when Ana nano boosts someone, it reloads their gun, and that's it.
That's
Because
interesting.
so many times, especially as Zarya, you get nanoed and you're like, well, time to reload. And there goes like half of nano.
Yep. You're just doing nothing after it. So you'd actually buff her. That's insane.
It's a small buff. A small buff, to be clear.
True. I argue that my buff to her is that she does need some sort of mobility option. Even if it's like as small as a Hanzo leap, I think she needs something. Sleep is not enough of a get off me option to save her. I know she has like she can nade and then sleep and such and then she gets away, but if she gets jumped on by like half the cast, she still dies 90% of the time.
Yeah, but that's kind of by design. That's a risk in playing Ana.
I mean, you're right, because I think other than Life Weaver right now, she does pump out the most amount of heals in the game, because Life Weaver is just stupid right now. But the thing is, he's like a heal bot. He doesn't do anything else other than heal and util. Anyways, I did add a nerf to her as well, though. I think she does do too much heals per shot. I think she just needs a slight heal nerf. I think her damage is probably fine, but I think a heal per shot down from 70 to like 65 or 60 or something, that might make her unplayable, or just like not as good as other healers. But I think her pocket potential is super dumb, because 70 per shot, that's like, how much does a Hanzo arrow do as a body
I
shot?
think 120.
A body shot on Hanzo?
Yeah.
Oh, that's stupid. Never mind then. I think she does need somewhat of a slight heal nerf then. And then I did make a change to her as well. As an idea, instead of making nade completely block heals, they received reduced healing. So like when they get naded, they receive like 50% health or something of incoming healing instead of completely blocked. But that, I don't know if that'd be healthy for her, because I think nade being an
I feel like that might make her a little
anti-heal,
useless.
it might make her useless, but like I
And
feel
then
like
it wouldn't probably bait out cleanse. It would just be like here's this ability that happened. Oh, now I get healed less.
yeah, with
But I don't
cleanse
think it'd cause any
existing,
cleanse.
with cleanse existing, that is a bit of a silly change. But when I made that thought, I didn't consider cleanse, so maybe not. So
Interesting.
yeah.
So you added like a lot of micro changes, and I was just like,
Yeah.
Ana's in a good spot. She's very viable, at least in our ranks. Just make a little quality of life change where it reloads their gun.
Yeah, that's fair. I do think in my opinion, I think she does need some sort of mobility option. But
I don't think every healer needs a mobility option.
so Zen and Ana are just fine. They're just chilling.
Because they have high
Risk, high reward is what you're saying.
Yeah.
And
like
even
diving
then,
a good Zen is equally as dangerous as like diving a Kiriko.
well, he does have good damage output, but I think he's more vulnerable than Ana, since all he has is his kick. Kick and
Maybe,
his Discord.
perhaps.
Yeah. Anyways, we'll get to those heroes when we get to them. Let's move on to Ashe. I'll start this time. I would buff her in a way of when you don't shoot the dynamite, it's on a long fuse. I would make the dynamite on a shorter fuse, not too much shorter, maybe like a second or two. But I know most of the time you're going to shoot the dynamite, but if you don't shoot the dynamite, like let's say you shoot around a corner or you're using it to zone, possibly, that could actually be a nerf, seen as, because you don't want to go somewhere where there's a dynamite. So if there's a longer fuse, they don't want to go there, right?
Yeah.
So that's actually an odd change now that I think of it. What do you think?
My change to Ashe is I want her to have more consistent damage output. So I
Okay.
gave her a faster reload and 15 ammo instead of 12.
Actually,
But then I nerfed her aim down sight headshot damage to be 1.7 instead of 2. So she isn't quite as like pocketable to just be like cringe about everything.
But I think with 1.7, 2 headshots can still kill, right?
Right, but if you're hitting 2 headshots, that's okay.
Yeah.
It's a lucky headshot and then body shot where it's like, man, you didn't even mean to.
Right. I didn't nerf her in any way because I didn't see a way in which she needed to be nerfed. But a change I did make is, and this could be seen as a buff. I want her coach gun to do actual damage rather than just boop her away and then tickle you for 15 damage or whatever it is. Because it's a coach gun is a coach gun. It's a shotgun. It shouldn't tickle you. It should do actual damage.
I agree with that. I think that's a good change.
Yeah, I mean, even if it's just like similar to like McCree Flashbang from Overwatch 1 where it did like what 30 damage or something. I wanted to do just like not 10. I wanted to actually like see damage instead of oh, it just tickled.
I think that's a good change.
Yeah. Baptiste, we can start with you. This is gonna be a
All right.
very odd one.
So I think Bap has a lot of power in the game currently. And
Yeah.
I think he's almost a little broken at times.
Mhm.
So with that, I buffed him.
What is wrong with you?
but it's a pretty simple buff where regenerative burst has infinite vertical range. So the horizontal range for it is still the same, but if you're jumping in the air and you use it, you'll still be able to hit people with your regenerative burst from above them.
What is the vertical
a lot of times-
range for it right now? Is it just like an
It's
AoE
10
around
meters.
him?
It's a 10-meter radius around him.
Okay. How do you just know that off the top of your head?
I looked stuff up, dude. I went in
meter.
depth into this.
Oh, okay, I see.
And then the nerf is Immortality Field has literally 5 HP.
Just
Anyone
make it
hits
a
it once,
one-shot?
other than if you sleep it, it's gone.
I don't know about that though, because it has to have like somewhat of a survivability, like at least
I
like
don't think
30
it does.
HP.
I think it should be support's really strong right now, and I think it's because of these abilities.
You're
Where
right.
it's like, oh, have to shoot him more, and it takes 2 shots, and then you're back to shooting them, and by the time you're done shooting them, they're healed up.
Do you
They're
know
shooting more, they're healed up?
what's the HP for it right now? It's like 75 or something. It's pretty
something
slow.
like that. Maybe 50.
Yeah. I can see why you made that. Although it makes you think a lot more about where you want to put it, but
Right. So it needs to be a lot more skillful ability.
but
You know?
here's the thing: it turns out being a cleanse if you do it to that, like a worse cleanse.
I don't think it turns out to be a worse cleanse. It just means that you have to be better with where you place it, because it has a lot longer uptime if you place it correctly than cleanse. And like my entire goal here is to kind of nerf supports so there's not these, oh, here's this ability where they just can't die, here's this other ability where they just can't die, because support is really strong right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I don't want to nerf outright healing.
Yeah.
But I do want to nerf kind of these abilities where you're like, dude, no way, you know?
Mhm. Yeah.
Where it's like you're about to finish someone, and you're then the ability pops off, and you're just like, bruh.
Yeah, it feels bad. It's not one of those satisfying feelings at all.
And then my final change is I just gave his healing projectiles faster speed. I feel like they could go a little bit faster.
Like they travel faster.
Yep.
Interesting. I see. I didn't do anything good to Baptiste in the slightest.
Oh, you just nerfed him?
I just nerfed him. I did not buff him at all. Made his health ammo decreased. It's like what, 15 right now?
I think so.
I would drop it to like 12. I think he has way too many of them, Johnny's, before he has to reload again. And it's not tied to his primary fire either. So it's not like, I know there's another hero that has their, oh, it's Ana. She has her heals and damage tied to the same shot, whereas his is separate. I think he needs a bit less of those grenades that he launches. If not by much, like I think he just needs like maybe 3 or 4 less, because his heals he pumps out is a lot before he has to reload. And like I said, it's not tied to his primary fire either. And
that was also my logic is he has so many, like, such high heal output potential already. I don't think he needs Immort to be like this.
Yeah.
All right. You finally get him to have to reload. Boom, regenerative burst. Now they're back up to half. Now you tear him down. boom, now a mort's there, and you have to shoot a mort twice, and now boom, they're out of sight, you know?
Yeah. And then I also changed Immort. I did kind of the same thing I did with Anna's Nade. Instead of just making them immortal, in the field, they take reduced damage, like 50% less damage while they're in the field. So kind of like what's it called? It's kind of like a no. I was gonna relate it to a Zarya bubble, but that doesn't
Just like
really
everyone
work.
fortifies.
Yeah, basically. There you go. There you go. I think that would be.
I respect that.
It would be a lot more. It would feel better to play against because if you're fighting someone and they get immorted, obviously they don't die. Whereas if they throw out immort, it wouldn't exactly be an immort, but they would take damage a lot slower. So that's a change I would make to it. Whereas it removes one of the abilities that makes you invincible, and that's just not what Overwatch needs any of, in my opinion.
Interesting. Okay, I respect that.
Bet. Okay, Bastion. I just made one nerf to him, and it's more of a change than a nerf, but it does hurt him a bit. I made it so he does not have unlimited ammo in turret mode. I think he can keep the amount of shots he has, which is 300, which is still a lot, but I think he does need to be able to reload while in turret form. So he can't just unload on you the entire time he's in it. Because it just feels a bit, I don't know. It feels free almost, is what I'm thinking.
Now, see, I disagree because I feel like that being on a cooldown, it's not like Overwatch 1 where it's like he only has that window to have that damage output. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like he only has that window. So if you just hide from that and then you wait another 12 seconds, like you're good.
Yeah.
So my changes to Bastion are a bit more in depth. I buffed him where his movement speed in assault form is equal to that in recon form.
You think he should walk the same speed? Ooh.
No. You have those reversed. He should drive as a tank the same speed as he walks until he starts firing. When he starts firing, then he gets the movement debuff.
Okay, I get what you're saying. So like a wrist style.
Yeah, exactly. Because then it gives him a little bit more of an option to like, oh, I need to like back out of this, and it's less of just like I'm going super slow, and it also feels less like, you know, you pop it and everyone runs and you're like, well, I just wasted this. Good thing it's on like a 12-minute cooldown.
The reason he has that whole damage reduction the entire time he's in tank form is because obviously you dish out a lot of damage while in turret form. So they want to put a little bit of risk on going into it. So that's why you have the ability to cancel it, I think, is so you don't get jumped on, I guess, while in it or just immediately melted. Like, let's say you get discorded or something. So I think it's there for a reason.
Right. And that's why my second nerf, my nerfs now are I removed his damage reduction in turret form.
Entirely?
Right? So he just doesn't have that anymore. And I also reduced his health from 300 to 275.
His total health? Wow.
Yeah, his total health.
Okay,
it's
you
only a
want him to be
25% decrease. I want him to be less of like just something where if he's pocketed, you're not going to be able to kill him. Right? And when he's in turret form with double pocket, with his damage reduction, it's just like you're not going to do anything. There's not really a lot of counterplay other than just sitting there and waiting.
Right.
But with that, I also wanted him to have the option where it's like, oh shoot, I'm taking a lot of damage. I got to get out of here. I can just stop shooting and then retreat now at a decent speed.
Right.
And those are my Bastion. Oh, I have one more Bastion.
Oh.
His ult no longer damages himself.
I didn't even know that was a thing because I'm not shooting myself when I'm doing it.
Junkrat's doesn't damage him. Bastion should not damage him.
Oh boy, yeah, that's silly. I didn't even know that was a thing. That's dumb. So we both have similar. Well, no, you think he needs buffs. You're a weirdo.
I gave him buffs and some pretty different nerfs. I want him to be played different.
Right,
is my goal.
You don't think he should just be this guy that turns into turret form and then kind of just waits for people to go. They get double pocket, and then the other team just runs around the corner and he doesn't do anything.
Exactly.
So you want him to be a bit more versatile when he's not shooting, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's cool. I can get behind that. Alrighty, Brigitte. I didn't even know what to do with Brigitte. All I know is that I want to nerf her survivability. I don't know how. I just want her to die.
Yeah.
That's all I put for her. I just nerf her survivability.
I think Brig needs more consistent heal output. So I gave her faster health pack regeneration for like her little packs. But then her rally overhealth duration is reduced to 20 seconds instead of 30. Having overhealth for 30 seconds after it like after rally wears off or during rally is crazy. And also, rally no longer grants speed boost. I don't think she'd be able to just pop rally and run you down. You know.
Right. I also
And on top of
completely.
that, shield bash will never cancel an ability.
What do you mean? Like the
Like, okay,
stun?
Reinhardt's charging. She can't shield bash him out of charge, right? So that's what I'm making it so where it's like she can't just go up. Oh, this guy popped his ult. McCree popped his ult. I'll just walk up to him with a shield bash him, and then there goes McCree's ult. Like,
Right,
no, it'll do
right.
damage still, but it's not going to take him out of his ult.
Yeah, I can see that.
And like Reinhardt should not get stopped by a little shield bash. You know, as he's charging, that shouldn't be a counter to Reinhardt.
Well, does it not knock her down too?
I think it does, but he's a tank.
Yeah,
And
but
shield bash is on what, like a 5-second cooldown?
well, it is only in her ult, and she can only do it once, so it's kind of like one of those
I'm pretty
deals
sure
where you
shield
gotta play
bash
it.
cancels ults even if you're not in ult. Like you're not stunned, but it cancels your ult.
There's no way that's a thing. It doesn't stun in
wrong.
any way. If that were the case, then that's dumb. What does shield bash do other than damage?
It just damages now. That's my change to it.
Well, I thought that's all it did in the first place, so I'll just agree with you. Yippee!
All
Okay, Cole Cassidy. I think we both have a very similar buff here. Let's bring that fall off change back. What the frick,
Yup.
Blizzard?
Yup.
What
Damage drop off
is
range
that?
increased is my first buff.
Yep. And what is his current health? Is he decree right now?
225. He's 225.
Okay, because that was my other buff, because I wasn't sure if he was 200 or 225. But he deserves to beat decree. Just saying. I didn't nerf him in any sort of way, because I think his if he had his fall off back, then I think he'd be fair. And I didn't make any change also as well, because the change I would have made is let him use roll in the air, which he can also do now. So he's sitting at a pretty good spot if you bring his fall off back to what it was, in my opinion. So did you change anything else?
Yeah. So my issue with McCree is a lot of times he feels kind of underwhelming to play after you play like Sojourn or Soldier. I wanted to make him a little bit more fun.
Well, do you mean it's because he's like kind of like standing and shooting simulator guy?
He's not like standing and shooting simulator guy, but it's like you have to do so much to do anything on McCree, it feels like. Like Soldier, you can just kind of sit there and poke damage. Sojourn, you charge up a shot, you right click, boom. With McCree, it's like like you're fighting for it, and you have this huge hitbox. You know? So my changes to McCree are to make him more fun and dynamic to use, because like realistically, no one who plays McCree likes sticky grenade.
You're
It's
right.
just not a really good ability.
Do you
in my
want
opinion.
flashback though?
No. So
Okay.
here's my buff. Headshots no longer consume ammo.
Okay, that's
No,
a
if
buff
you
if
think
I've
about
ever
it,
seen it. On
yeah,
tanks,
that's a
though,
good
think
buff.
about it. On tanks,
On
What?
tanks, that's huge. But who's hitting like back to back headshots like
on
that?
Orisa and
Most of the time,
Hog
it'll
and
give you like
Malga,
2
that's
to 3
easy.
extra shots, which isn't huge.
I don't know. That's pretty significant if you're just shooting tanks. Maybe remove a little bit of his crit damage, and that would be a little bit more fair. But I don't know about that.
Okay, and then on top of that, I removed damage drop off, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or at least increase the range. He definitely still has it, but increase the
Yeah.
range. We're not going back to Sniper McCree.
Mm-hmm.
And then my nerf to him is sticky grenade is completely removed. Just a bad
just
ability.
get it. Just get rid of it.
And with it, he has a new grenade called it's just a frag grenade. If he
Mhm.
throws it, it lands in a spot, sits there, explodes. If it hits someone directly, like a Junkrat bomb, it'll explode on impact for 115 damage. So it still gives him the ability to like zone off like flankers in the back line, because he can throw this grenade down on the ground.
Mhm.
And if he hits them with it, it does a good amount of damage and they have to leave. But it's not like a sticky grenade where it tracks onto him. It's nothing
Right.
cringe like that. And then there's a lot more skill involved, because you're like, Tracer's back there, you throw the grenade, boom, it hits her, and then you shoot her and she's dead.
Yeah, I can see. What
Not
do you
like, "Oh,
think?
it followed her and tracked her.
What do you think like the damage and cooldown would be like if that were the case?
12-second cooldown on it.
Okay.
And then like it would have also fall off damage based on how far away it was, like a concussion mine, where it's like if
Yeah.
you're on the very outskirts, it's only going to do like 40 damage.
Right. Would it be like
But
the
it's still like you said with Ash, it's kind of like a zoning thing, because I have it set to explode after 1.5 seconds of landing on the ground, where it's like,
right.
okay, he misses everyone, it's on the ground. They have 1.5 seconds to get away from that.
So
with Ashe, you see the dynamite there, and you're like, I'm not going there. Heck that, and then it blows up.
So it's similar to an Ashe grenade that kind of has a shorter fuse, but is more like a concussion mine.
Yeah, and then it also has no like burning tick damage to it.
Right.
It just explodes.
Okay, I like that.
And
because...
it explodes on impact. There's no like I need to shoot it. It just explodes on impact if it hits someone. So if you have like a tank and you just throw the grenade at them and it hits the tank, boom, 115 damage right on the tank.
Right. Would the travel speed be kind of similar to Ashe Dynamite or on a nade?
Probably somewhere. I think on a nade is too fast for it, and I think Ashe Dynamite is too slow.
So somewhere in between.
So somewhere in between. Yeah.
Gotcha. All right. I like it because I do agree that his grenade is, it's not satisfying to use.
It's not fun to use, and it's not fun to play against.
Its util, its util isn't even that great at the same time. Like,
yeah,
you would block movement abilities and make them slower. That even its biggest util being stopping Doom / Ball is not even that good. I completely agree. I couldn't think of what to do about the nade. I just agree that it's not a very satisfying and good ability to use. We can move on to D.Va now. You can start with D.Va.
All right. So I made 2 changes to D.Va. The first one is a buff. Okay. Her mech can crouch now.
W buff.
Her second one is just her character canonically becomes less cringe. They just stop making her so cringe.
Is that it?
Yep, that's it. That's my only D.Va changes.
Ooh, so you think she's sitting tight otherwise then, right?
I feel like she has a pretty solid spot right now. Especially with Mauga and how good like Matrix is at shutting him down.
Right.
Like or countering like a Winston dive. I feel like she has her spot into certain comps.
She does. That being said, I do have only nerfs for her. I don't think she needs to be buffed or changed to me.
You didn't even add a mech crouch?
Huh? No.
You didn't even give mech crouch?
No, I did not give mech crouch. I didn't consider that. I made it so her jet cooldown was up, because I can't tell you how many times you'll get close to a D.Va, she'll get decently low, she'll just fly out, get healed, fly back in, do her thing, and then fly back out. Because it just seems like she has too much get out of jail free option, and I just want less of that. It wouldn't be much longer, like maybe a second or two, because I think it's like 2 or 3 seconds right now. It should be at least 3 to 4, because I think she just gets it way too often. So I want her to be a little bit more punished for using jets. And another thing I added was Matrix, or after she uses Matrix, it's like on a 1 or 2 second cooldown. I think it's on a 1 second cooldown right now. I think it should be at least 2.5, somewhere around that. That way she can't really spam it. I think it's around that right now, but I still think it needs to be a tiny bit longer. That way she has more window to be damaged, and kind of goes along the same lines of she can't just jet in with Matrix, jet out, get out of jail free, get healed all the way up, do it all over again. So I just think it make it a little bit easier to kill her, perhaps.
I think that's okay. Yeah, I like that.
Because I don't know, but because of the D.Va game we played against tonight, it just seemed a bit too difficult to kill her. I mean, that being said, we didn't have a Zarya or like Nay or Sim, but it just seemed it's still a little bit too hard, and it's a bit frustrating how often she can use Matrix, in my opinion.
In my opinion, I think it's fair because she's kind of this huge target where it's like if she's not kind of diving in and out, she's just gonna be an alt battery the whole time and throw, you know. So
you think she needs that the Matrix usage?
Maybe not the Matrix usage, but the ability to fly out.
Oh, okay.
Consistently.
Well, I'd be like,
I agree with the Matrix one as well, though, because like 1 second to have time to register that she just used Matrix and pop whatever ability you want to pop is crazy.
Right, because I'm fine with how like often or like the Matrix charges and how long she can hold it for, but I just think that she should be punished more for using it, letting it go, using it, letting it go. You know?
Yeah, I agree.
Cool. All right. Do you want to start this one off?
Sure. So,
Doomfist.
I buffed him first.
Oh, what is wrong with you?
A fully charged punch now does 25 more damage.
What does it do now? Do you know?
I do not know what it does now.
But all I know is it feels like a tickle. Are you talking about when it's charged or uncharged?
Like a full charge, like he's done shouting, punches forward, 25 extra damage on top of that.
Okay.
And then here come the nerfs. So he gets a 1.5 to 2 second longer cooldown on every single ability. Just every single one across the board.
Only 1.5.
A successful block no longer resets his punch. That's ridiculous. That it's only
really
80
dumb.
damage. It's literally 80 damage, and boom, he gets a free punch.
Yeah.
I decreased the distance for Seismic Slam. And
Really?
yeah, the biggest one is... Oh, 1 second. I'm about to get a Charlie horse. Frick.
Actually?
Yeah. Okay, no, I'm good now.
Oh, bet.
Only fully charged punches can cancel abilities and stun people. So if you're McCree and you're ulting in front of him, he can't just tap right click and stop your ult.
Right.
Same thing with Reinhardt. If you pop ult in front of him and he just taps right click and punches you, it's not going to do it. He has to charge that and then hit you.
That makes sense. Interesting. I don't know. Because I don't know. That feels like his same identity as a character. The block punch thing, I definitely agree should not be there because that just adds on to his mobility. And the Seismic Slam mobility change, I do agree because with my nerfs as well, I didn't list off any specifics. I just said reduces mobility in general, meaning make his skills longer cooldown like you did. I didn't do the change of when his fist is charged, it gives you the cooldown back. But I added his block damage. Make him take more damage when he's blocking. He needs to be a tad bit more punished for using that ability. And if he has a Seismic Slam on a longer cooldown, then he'll be a bit more punished for just going in by himself. That way he can't just rely on his block. He can still semi-take damage rather than whatever 75% it is right now. It's just ridiculous. Just make him more killable.
Hard
overall.
agree. Hard agree. But I also don't want him to be... And I feel like with these, he still has like the ability to combo people into the wall. It feels more like lore accurate Doomfist, where he's doing more damage with these punches. But it's not this like little cringeness where he jumps in, punches you, shoot, jumps out, and he's free, block, back in, shoot, gone. It's like, how do you play against that?
You don't. you get a nade and a sleep, and possibly Discord there while you're at it.
And then he's cleansed, or he's life weaved out of there.
Yeah. I'm just cringing thinking about playing against it. Anyways, I made one last change to him, and it's another nerf. Reduce how long he can stay in Meteor Strike. He can stay up there in that Johnny for too long. Let him keep his heal or whatever that he has now, but like make it a 2 or 3 second. No, not 2. 2 is too short. Like 3 or 4 second, like whatever it is now, I think is way too long that he can stay up there. That way he can't travel as far, and you can use it. It gives you more incentive to use it offensively rather than as a get out of jail free card, which will stay just in general because he can still heal up there and just gets him out of any sticky situation, period. But give you more incentive to use Meteor Strike offensively, I think.
I agree.
Yeah. All right. Echo.
All right, before the next one, I'm going to go poop real quick. Be back.
Ben.
Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that.
Welcome back, Fricker.
All right.
That was the fastest poop I've ever seen.
Bro, it shot out of me.
Ew, nasty. I don't need to hear the details. Okay, Echo. I made a decent amount of changes to her, actually. I buffed her in the way that they nerfed her a while ago to where you don't get ultimates as fast as you used to. While in her ultimate, so when she copies someone. I think she should get a little bit faster ultimate charge. And I know it's like ridiculously fast depending on who you get. But I don't know about you, but I know you don't play Echo, but the times I've played Echo, and this might be a skill issue, and I even wrote that down, but there are times where I like feel like it takes way too long to get the ultimate. And I know the goal of that nerf in the first place was to make it so you only use it once, but it like I said, might be skill issue. I have trouble even getting it once sometimes. So maybe buff how fast she gets the ultimates when she's copying someone, because it seems a little bit too slow in my opinion. Do you want to touch on that before I move on?
Nope.
No? Okay. I would nerf her laser. I think it should do less damage when you're below 50% health, because if you're a squishy and you're below 50% health, you're gone. You're toast. I didn't touch her sticky grenades or anything like that because I think that's fine, and I think if you get hit by that, then it does a fair amount of damage. A change I would make is make the laser only effective like at 40% health maybe, and nerf the damage a little bit even more, because I think 50% is probably a little bit too high of a window to use it. I think it should be a little bit smaller for you to do that much of a damage buff on a move, I guess, because you're obviously aiming to use the move at below 50% health. It does nothing unless they're at that range, and I think the window to use that move should be a little bit smaller.
Interesting. I feel like Echo has a lot of potential. She just has a high skill floor.
Right.
And I feel like if we... I don't know. I didn't really buff her. But I think I do agree with some of your changes there.
Mm-hmm.
Like the laser and squishies. I feel like maybe squishies should be affected different with the laser than like a tank.
Right.
So my only change with her was she no longer, like, if she's at 15 HP and pops ult to save herself, when she pops out, she's not at 100 HP. She's still at 15.
You think she goes back to what she was before?
Yeah, 100% I do. I feel like it's kind of interesting to be like, all right, you popped your ult, which A, gives you a full new set of health, and then on top of that, after your ult's over, you have more health to get out in case you didn't get out with your other ult.
Can you believe it was... she was at 200 health before when she first released. She had her full health when she came out of it.
It needs to be whatever she's at when she pops her ult is what she leaves at.
That makes... You're right, that does make it a bit more... you have to think about actually using the ult rather than just popping it. So I do semi-agree with that. Maybe not to the point of what she used, the health... She goes back to the health she was when she used it, but maybe make it like 75 health or something. Just make it not as high as it is now, because I think I do agree with you there.
Like, my thing is, okay, Echo flanks, pops her ult, and she's at 200 HP.
Mm-hmm.
She leaves, she's at 200 HP. But Echo flanks, gets countered by the enemy team, right? They make the right play. They get her down to 15 HP, she pops her ult, copies Reinhardt, goes in there, dies again, now has her HP back, and can just fly out. And it's like, oh, I'm out of here, bye.
You think it's too much of a get out of jail free?
Yeah, it's too forgiving.
But I think it being tied to an ultimate kind of forgives
but
that
whoever
a little
she copies already heals her at minimum or at maximum 300.
Right.
Because, like, that's 300 more HP that she gets to take. So she can go in there with 200 HP, copy a tank, take 300 more damage, and then on top of that, another 100. It's like, something about that doesn't seem right.
Tanky.
Yeah.
Yeah, I semi-agree with you. Maybe not to the extent you have it, but a little bit less than what she comes out of the ultimate. Arrives out. I forget who I'm talking to. Alright. Genji time.
Genji time.
I surprisingly didn't change him too much. The only buff I gave him was I want his stars, his primary fire, to do a little bit more damage. That's really all I want. And then a change I made to him is I want his Dragon Blade to have maybe a second or two longer of time and maybe slightly more damage per hit. Because with how supports are right now, say what you want about, oh, wait for cleanse, wait for more, wait for yada, yada, yada. Even if you wait, on a shooting, why am I forgetting her name all of a sudden? Kiriko, primary fire, Life Weaver, primary fire, it all out damages a single hit of Dragon Blade. Because if I'm not wrong, Dragon Blade does like 70 damage per hit.
It does way more than that.
Does it not? It does like 70 to 100, around that. And I wanted to do just a little bit more because I think his Dragon Blade needs to be compensated for how supports are right now.
So it does 110 damage per swing.
Holy shoot. Never mind then. Skill issue. Because I just feel like I do nothing when I'm in Dragon Blade because the amount of speed that people get healed is just rough.
Yeah, so with every single card that Kiriko throws out being gold and hitting them, she'll do 110 healing.
Every card.
But you get... If every card hits whoever they're after, it'll do 110.
I thought you said every singular card.
No.
Okay.
Every card has to hit them during that amount of time, and he can swing faster than she can throw that.
Right, but I still feel
So
like
all it comes down to is just like, okay, if they're on-innated, then Kiriko's going to out-heal it. But then that's 2 abilities and pocket going into someone just to keep him up from a Genji ult. You know what I mean?
yeah, I feel you there. I still feel like it's I would change Dragon Blade some way in a way to compensate for the amount of heals in the game, which I feel like the
I
only
wouldn't.
way
I think
to do
Dragon
that.
Blade is played right now as like a time to win the team fight, and it should be played more as like a team game instead of like a solo game. You know what I mean?
I guess, yeah.
Like
Not a
Soldier goes
one-player
behind
game.
in the back, pops visor, gets killed. You're like, the Soldier's bad. Genji pops blade, dives the whole team, dies.
Dies.
You're like, oh, Dragon Blade needs a change. You know, it's like, no, it
Mhm.
should be like Dragon Blade should be used as a team element and not like just I'm gonna go win us the game.
But that doesn't make for a good Genji montage.
Facts. So here's my change to Genji. I think he needs more consistent damage output outside of his ult.
Right.
So I buffed the speed on his primary fire from 60 to 80 meters per second, so that it's faster and he can more accurately like do damage from range. So it's not like he always feels like he has to jump in there and get up close and throw and feed every fight and then dive back out. He can kind of have this option to do more damage from range.
So is that a
and then-
slight buff, you would say, or a pretty significant buff?
Having fast projectile speed would mean that he can lead his shots better and do more consistent damage with his things, almost like a Lifeweaver Thorn type
Okay,
thing.
gotcha.
Another buff I gave him is his melee damage goes from 30 to 45.
There
He
you
has
go.
a sword. He should do sword damage.
Right.
And then I nerfed him because I feel like the biggest thing with Genji is he jumps in a fight, he jumps around, they start shooting at him, he pops deflect, and then he can just dash out. And there needs to be more consequence to engaging. You shouldn't just have a get out of jail free card all the time.
Right.
So then I nerfed dash, so it's from an 8-second cooldown to a 10-second cooldown.
All right. I think I can get behind that.
And then that's it.
That's it. You wouldn't nerf
That's
its
it.
like damage or anything. You think the 50 is fine. You think the dash reset is fine. Coolest mechanic in the game, by the way.
I think dash reset is a unique thing that makes Genji fun to play and is rewarding.
Yes.
Like the McCree headshot thing, where it's like, if you're a bad McCree and you're just going for body shots, you're not really going to get a benefit out of that. But a good McCree is going to be like, bink, bink, bink.
Mhm.
It'll really feel different to a good McCree.
Oh yeah, I get you there. So I think we have a similar agreement that outside of Dragon Blade, he does need a bit of help, but at the same time, he needs his defensive options. You don't think a deflect needs to be charged? Only dash?
I think deflect as an ability is a skill issue if you die to a deflect most of the time, or your team shooting it. But realistically, it's like a Zarya bubble where if you pop deflect and no one shoots it, it's like that's kind of on you. And it's just a really cool ability to be able to be like, ching.
I think I've heard you mention before that the hitbox for deflect should be changed, like make it smaller, because it is a decent sized square box in front of him.
But if
needs to be
he's forced
smaller.
to stay in the fight for longer now,
Mhm.
having that extra survivability that deflect gives, I think it kind of balances out.
You don't think it's a problem?
No, because that's 2 whole extra seconds. Unless he gets a kill, then he has to be in the fight.
Right. But you don't think in any way Dragon Blade should be changed in any
No,
way?
I think Dragon Blade is fine where it's at. Like, there's not a lot of other abilities that allow you to get like a full team wipe. Like you nano McCree, that's not like a guaranteed team wipe when he ults at all. You nano
Right.
Soldier, again, not a guaranteed team wipe. He can get matrixed. A shield stops him. Literally Sigma like just sucking stops him. Like there's a lot that counters all these other ults, and I feel like Dragon Blade is one of the strongest DPS ults, especially with Nano.
Well, yeah, but I don't think we should be balancing based on Nano. So kind of
No, I'm not balancing based on Nano.
Right,
But
right.
I think it's already in a really good spot where it's like, you pop a McCree ult, you're probably going to get like 1 to 2 picks, maybe. Soldier ult, 1 to 2 picks, maybe.
So you think Dragon
Genji
Blade
ult?
should be in that category?
Yeah. I don't think it needs to be this every single fight, you're getting a team wipe like it is.
Right. Well, it's not exactly like, I don't know what happened with Overwatch 2, but it might be just how people play, but ever since 5v5 released, not even like Zarya Grav or like Mei Freeze is nearly as impactful as it used to be. I don't know how But it might be the way people position, but you don't ever see like huge grabs anymore, like huge freezes, and I don't know why.
I also don't know why.
Because is it because there's less people on in the game, or like maybe there's more movement abilities? I'm just confused. It just feels like you see a lot less huge plays in general if it's not like Kiriko mixed with like another ultimate or like Riptire or like maybe
Yeah.
a signal. Like you don't see team wipes very often anymore. It's like more gradual.
Yeah, I agree.
Which
And I think that's just because healing is really strong right now. There's a lot of strong healer
maybe
abilities.
which I'm I don't know because I kind of agree with the not seeing as many team wipes as you used to, but I don't know. It just makes some ults not seem as impactful as they used to be, like Dragon Blade, I guess.
Yeah.
So, all right, we can move on to Hanzo now, and I didn't change too much about Hanzo, but I think me and you made somewhat of a similar change. Make him not have as much one-shot potential as he has. If he is just lobbing a shot, it can just hit anyone with a stray. So maybe make his arrow hitbox size tiny bit smaller, not too much smaller, but it just seems like a little bit too easy to headshot people with him. So give his
Agree.
one-shot potential down just a little bit, because it does not feel earned a lot of the time when you get killed by Hanzo.
No.
And then some nerfs I gave to him were I think he should have a slightly longer cooldown on his jump ability, even though it is like 5 seconds. Give it like a 6 or 7 second cooldown. Not that it's ever like, I don't know about you, but his jump is never like a factor mid combat. It can be like, oh, I need to get away, but it doesn't seem super impactful. So I don't even know why I'm nerfing it in the first place.
You're just a hater.
I'm just a hater, but I do think his storm arrow needs a longer cooldown than it already has. So maybe like a second or two longer, not too much, because it's Hanzo is honestly needed for comps against like Bastion maybe and possibly Mei, because he can melt walls, he can melt certain shields, and I think he's like the biggest Bastion counter right now, especially.
Yeah.
So he's needed in some ways, but that's why I wouldn't nerf Storm Arrow that much, because I think the damage is fine. Make it not as often, maybe. So I'm curious to hear what you think.
So I didn't buff him at all.
Right.
I feel like Hanzo is in a not a bad spot, but an unfun spot to play against.
Yeah.
Especially. So my first nerf is he has fall off damage now.
Oh.
Bro shoots an arrow. It should not do the same damage if you lob it from spawn into a choke point that it would do like when you first fire it, right?
How much
Just
are you
logistically.
thinking? How much fall
I
off?
think anything after like 20 meters should not be able to one-shot a squishy.
20 meters is not
I want him
that
to
far.
be less of a I want him to be less of a sniper and more of a
mid-range
person.
Okay, I can.
Right, because the fact that he can just charge a shot, poke around a corner, and launch a shot. All like imagine you're playing King's Row, right? After first point, and your Widowmaker way in the back, like up on top of that little like cafe area, and Hanzo peeks around the corner in that choke point, lobs an arrow, and it flies back and it kills you. And he was visible for 0.1 seconds.
Yeah.
There's no counterplay to that, and it's also
Nope.
just really cringe.
Yeah.
Right? So it needs fall off damage. He shouldn't be a counter to Widowmaker.
No, he shouldn't. Well, if you take out Hanzo out of the equation, the only encounter to Widowmaker is, well, strictly being squishy, is like Genji and another Widowmaker. I wouldn't see any other counters. Well, I guess
then
Lucio.
you also have Lucio. You can have Zen who can lob shots all the way back there and delete Widowmaker. And then you can also have just tank going Winston and run dive, Yeah. Hanzo should be a mid-range, like you said, a Bastion melter.
Yeah.
Which is why my next change is Storm Arrow can no longer headshot.
Wasn't that a change at one point?
I don't know.
I don't know.
It can no
either.
longer headshot now.
Or I don't know. How much does a headshot do, or how much does a headshot do for Stormer? Do you know?
Let me see. I think it does 140.
A single shot of Storm Arrow, and you have 4 of those, Johnnies, or 6?
Storm Arrow can headshot, and each one does Storm Arrows. Okay, so it does 65 and it can headshot. So it does 130 damage.
Eesh. And he has how many of them? 4?
He has 5.
Oh,
so
boy.
he can just be gone. right?
Right.
Shouldn't be able to headshot. Fan the Hammer can't headshot. Storm Arrow can't headshot.
Fair.
And it doesn't really change anything when he's fighting Bastion, because usually he's melting a Bastion from the front and not
Yeah.
flanking him.
Yeah, exactly.
So it still makes him about the same strength against Bastion.
Right. I don't know. Most of the time when I'm going against a Hanzo, unless I'm Bastion, Storm Arrow does not seem like much of an issue, in my opinion, because I think his damage is fine, probably. But I don't know. I just don't. I'm usually not ever really headshot from Storm Arrow. It might just be the people we play against, but I don't know.
And then my last change is Marking Arrow now has a maximum damage of 170. The only person it'll headshot, I would nerf it. You shouldn't be able to just lob a Marking Arrow shot and boom, that's a kill, right? It should have some type of side effect for being a utility shot. So it can't kill
funny.
Widowmaker, but it can still kill Tracer. Marking Arrow can no longer one-shot almost every squishy.
I think you forget Widowmaker has 175 health.
I know, so it can't one-shot Widowmaker. I thought I said.
No, I thought you said Widowmaker, or you didn't. I thought you said only Tracer.
If he's damage boosted, it'll still one-shot, but only then.
Gotcha. I mean, that's fine, I guess. I think the reason that's not a thing is because it's still an arrow, but I can see why you would change that. Okay. Alari. You probably
when you die to a Marking Arrow, it's the least satisfying thing in the game.
Because you're just like, okay, you were just shooting this to get your walls, but
exactly. It's not fun.
Yeah. Okay, moving on to Iati. I don't know about Alari as much as you do, so I'm more probably uneducated when it comes to changing anything about her. But when I have played her, as I would buff her in the way that her right click, so her heals, I would give it more charges so it lasts longer. But to compensate for that, I would nerf it in how much or how fast it heals, which might cancel itself out in the first place because it would heal slower, but you could technically heal more, I guess. I don't know. All I know is I want it to last longer but heal less. And I would also nerf her just overall damage as a support, because especially at launch, I'm glad that they keep reducing her projectile size, because I don't know how often I was getting headshot by her because her projectile size was huge. So I'm glad that they nerfed that. But I do think she does need maybe a slight damage nerf, maybe not too much to where she becomes unplayable, but just a little bit. I didn't touch her pylon because I think her pylon is honestly in a good spot right now. Because it has a good amount of health, and I think it heals fine. I think its hitbox is fine. I did, however, touch her mobility move. I don't even know what it's called. I think her launch distance is fine. I would change, however, how much it boops you. I still know it's a slight boop, but I still think it should boop you that much less. Because I can't tell you how many times I would get so close to diving her on Genji, the times I have played Genji recently, and she would just boot me away, and I feel like I couldn't confirm a kill because all of a sudden she's on a high ground that I couldn't get to because now I'm all of a sudden low or whatnot. So I just feel like you be booped a tad bit less. I get it's meant to be a get off me option, but you don't get booped very far with Ashe Coach Gun. So I feel like her move should not be as the get off me as it is right now.
Interesting. Okay. I respect that.
Bet.
So, I also changed her healing beam. I think Alari should have a more active healing role, and because of that, I made it so her beam recharges in 2 seconds instead of taking 3 seconds to charge back up.
Right.
And I made it to where it no longer has an overheat effect, where if you use all of it, you don't have to sit there and wait.
Right.
I then buffed Pylon to where it, instead of healing 15, it heals 25.
Right.
But then I also buffed Pylon and gave it 120 health.
What does it have now? Do you know?
I think it's 75.
You think it needs almost double its health?
Yep. And here's why.
Okay, I want to hear this because my thinking here
because
is...
I nerfed Pylon. It can no longer be mounted on ceilings or walls.
Only the floor?
And it's similar to Soldier, Heal, and Bapamort, where it only stays active for 10 seconds when it's placed. It then goes on a 12-second cooldown. So I want her to be more healing-centric, where it's she's healing people, doing some damage, healing people, doing some damage, and it's like, oh shoot, people are getting low. I'm gonna pop pylon. Boom, pylon down. And it's like a little burst of extra healing to the team instead of like, here's this thing hidden around a corner. You can't shoot it, and it's just gonna keep me pocketed the entire time.
Only being on the floor, though, that kind of like, I guess you are compensating by giving it a little bit less, or a little bit more health. Oh, because it still makes it super easy to shoot then if it can only go on the floor. And if it's like a mix between a Baptiste burst and a soldier heal, I can see what you would be going for, but I think it's better how it is, how it's more versatility used now. I get it's annoying to go against sometimes, but I think it's part of using game sense of choosing where you want it to be and getting an angle to actually shoot at it.
Yeah, but the main thing is like, okay, you throw pylon down, and boom, now you have this constant heal output without you having to be like doing anything about it. You know what I mean? And then on top of that, her healing rifle does a lot of heals. I want to remove some of the passive heals and make it more to where you have to be more of an active healer.
Right, you don't think she should be, oh, I'm like Torb, but I have a healing turret, so I can leave that down and shoot at people.
Exactly. No, it should be like an active, you're a support, definitely, right? And you can still go for the damage, but it's not just like you're just, oh, put down my turret and good, you know?
That'd be like playing soldier, where you put down your heals and shoot. make Alari DPS. or make soldier support. Pick a struggle. Okay, you wouldn't touch her damage or her mobility at all, though?
Nah.
Nah, you think that's fine?
Because I feel like, especially with her being more of a active healer, having the opportunity to do more damage when it is time to damage is okay with me.
Alright, I bet I see that. Okay, JQ. Okay. I want old JQ back. As in, let me get her ult super quick. Maybe not as quick as you used to be able to get it, but they nerfed it, I think, a little bit too hard. It's where I feel like I'm not getting it as often as I should. So I want her ult charge to cost a little bit less. She has a whole mechanic around Gracie giving you lifesteal, but it does not give you near as much help as you think it would, because now we have Mauga who exists, where he gets what? In his lifesteal ability, he gets 50%, right? Whereas
60 now. And that's a post nerf, right?
No, I think they just changed it to 50 this last patch.
Okay.
So I want Gracie to lifesteal a little bit more, because I do not feel like, because you hit your knife, you pull it, I shoot melee. I don't feel like it's having enough impact. So give me a bit more lifesteal. The damage is fine, but I want a little bit more noticeable lifesteal from Gracie. And another thing is, I would shorten cooldown. Shorten the cooldown on Shout. It's like a 13-second cooldown right now. Make it like 12 or 11, and maybe to compensate for that, lessen the amount of health you get from it. I think the speed boost is fine, but shorten the amount of health you get from it. Shout is on a 13-second cooldown. I want it to be a bit more often, but I can see why they've got it where it's at, because it gives you some health. So
I made a similar change. Shout is currently at a 14-second cooldown.
Oh, they added it. It was 13 last I saw.
Yeah, so I changed it to 13 as well. I made it a whole second shorter.
Okay, cool. Because
I feel like that extra second sometimes is just all that matters.
Right, and it's a util that a tank like Junker Queen needs, especially whereas she's more of a DPS tank rather than a survivable, I'm gonna hold this corner type of tank. So I think Shout on a shorter cooldown could definitely help out that just a little bit. And then a change I made to her is when she ults, she's still facing the way that she ulted. So unless you are placing your ult just right, whereas still you'll appear in front of someone at the end of your ults, that doesn't feel good. So I made it so after she's ulted, she turns around automatically. And I can see why that's not a thing, because you would have less control overall over, I guess, where you would be at, I guess. I don't know. All I know is that I spend I know it shouldn't be like this, but I want to be instantly shooting at people after I ult, not having to turn around. So it's just kind of like a quality of life thing, but I can also like see why it's not a thing. If you get my drift.
Yeah, I get you.
Okay.
I also gave her some pretty good buffs.
Alright.
So commanding shout, obviously, cooldown decreased from 14 to 13 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
But I also made it so that when you pull people in, or not necessarily pull people in, but when you use your Carnage, like big axe swing on them,
Mm-hmm.
if the initial axe swing is what kills them, not the tick damage after, you get a 15% speed boost for 3 seconds.
Ooh.
Because then you get a kill and you're like, boom, back at it. You know, you can push in further. You can keep hunting the people down as they're running away. You know?
Yeah, so similar.
Like, boom, you get a kill, boom, it enables you more, almost like a Genji dash, sorta.
It's like the DPS passive where.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you get the. Is that a thing where if you kill someone you get a higher speed boost, or is it just?
I thought
a reload?
it used to be. I don't know if it is now.
Is it just the reload that's affected now after you get a kill?
I don't even think that's a thing anymore.
Did they remove that? What is the DPS passive?
You do damage.
Sick. I like that actually. Although it would have to see some like let's say you kill one person, you get a 3-second speed boost. If you kill another, it would have to go down to like a 2 or a 1-second speed boost. That way you can't just trample all over people, get a permanent speed boost throughout the fight. If you do get the last hit on multiple kills, I think it would have to get progressively worse for every kill you do get. That way you're not just speed demon.
I don't know. I don't mind that because if you're not going to have your axe swing for every kill.
Right.
It's only on the axe swing, not just when you get a kill.
The tick damage, yeah.
So you'd have to be really good at hitting your axe swings.
Well, here's
where you could get the cooldown fast enough where it's like, boom, I just hit everyone with my axe swing and now I have it back. So then I can chain it because your speed is going to end before you even get another axe swing anyway.
Right. I can definitely see that now. But like, let's say, I didn't actually consider that. Never mind. You're probably right.
And then I just made a little change to her ult where she can cancel it as she's flying.
Mm-hmm.
So that she doesn't like fly past the entire enemy team.
Yeah.
She can stop that.
And
yeah. Ulting now reloads her gun.
Why is that not a thing? It should be. I mean, I guess they want you to be smart about whether or not you're using it with ammo or not, but I feel like a lot of ults definitely should, because it does Maugas. Maugas definitely reloads your gun, because I don't know if you know now, but now he doesn't have unlimited ammo.
Yep.
But he does have enough ammo to shoot throughout his entire ult if he does not have Kitsune, because obviously you shoot faster. He can't shoot the entirety of his ult now because he can shoot for 8 seconds straight without having to reload, and that's how long his ultimate is. So they just removed that entirely. So yeah, I get you there, I guess. So we kind of feel the same way, somewhat, about where you were placed.
Satisfying to play more.
Yeah. So cool. No nerfs at all, just buffs for Junker Queen.
Yeah, just buffs for Junker Queen, because she's a really fun hero to play.
Agreed. Mega fun.
And I feel like she's also not frustrating to play against. You know?
She feels
like a lot of heroes
fair.
you have to be careful, like Doomfist, how much power you give them. But it's like, when have you ever been playing against a Reinhardt, you're like, oh, dude, this Reinhardt's so cringe. It's like, no, Reinhardt's just like, he's not annoying to play against.
No, she's a very brawl-centric tank. Not in the annoying sense that like Roadhog is, where he's playing a corner. Like, no, Junker Queen like is always like in your face, and you have to like it feels fair to fight her.
Exactly.
So nothing cringe about her. She's just brawl tank that has shotgun and axe. It's awesome. Okay, Junkrat buff. I put one thing for buff. No, that's all I put. No. Okay, but nerfs. I only gave him a smaller explosion on Riptire, because I think the damage is probably fair. Probably. Even though it's frustrating at times to get hit by it and all of a sudden you're full health and then dead. I would probably remove the, not remove the ability for it to climb walls, but make it slower when it's climbing walls so it's easier to shoot and there's more risk to going for that option. A change I would make is let him be damaged by his own bombs again, dude. Let him be a bit more careful about where he's lobbing those things. Come on. That's all I had for Junkrat. Maybe
I agree.
Yeah.
I went maybe a little bit more in depth, but overall, I just want to nerf like his like cringe one-shot potential.
You mean one shot concussion mine, you're dead?
Yep. So I nerfed the blast radius of concussion mine by 50%.
Dang, that's pretty
Right.
hefty.
Yeah, like it just nah. On top of that, I wanted to take away some of his movement ability, so that he can't just drop in, get a kill, and then launch back out, because
Mhm.
that's really just cringe and not fun to play against.
No.
So his self propulsion is reduced by 30%. So he'll only go like
Decent amount. It's respectable.
he can still get around with it and go faster, but it's not going to launch him like on Junkertown back up to that little window and get him out of there.
Right.
His primary fire no longer like knocks targets back. You know, they don't get like blasted
So no
around from it.
boop.
No boop.
Concussion mine still does though?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then my final change is he makes more noise when crouching than every other hero. Like he can't really flank.
Oh, why?
So to
Because
say. You can
peg
always
leg?
hear him.
Peg leg?
Yeah, because he's peg legged. How do you crouch with a peg leg?
You sure clop.
And like I don't know, it's just cringe to be like walking through and then Junkrat's behind and he launches himself out. It's like that's not fun to play against.
Mm-mm.
This isn't Valorant. I shouldn't have to be checking my corners as I walk through.
Right. One thing that I'm coming up or arriving with up on the spot is make his concussion mine do probably a lot less damage to compensate for that one shot potential as well. Because I think his primary fire is probably fine, but to reduce the damage. I think your idea about the explosion size is fine too, but I think just the overall damage might need to be touched just a little bit less as well, just to keep you from being one shot like that, I guess. Yeah. Okay. And did you not change his him getting damaged by his own bombs?
I did not.
You don't think that needs to be touched?
I didn't actually think about that.
Because I think if Farah is able to, if Zarya is able to, why the heck is Junk not able to? It does not make sense at all.
Actually true though. Actually
true. So change it back to Overwatch 1. It was changed back in Overwatch 1 when they made him immune to his own bomb. So make him more risky to play, even if it's like 20 to 30 damage per bomb, like even less than that. Make him more risky to where he's shooting those bombs. Okay, moving on to Kiriko. You can get started because I'm pretty sure we have similar changes probably.
So I think the most annoying thing with Kiriko is how I think if a Kiriko is able to land her headshots on you, she should be able to do that with smaller hitboxes on. So I didn't buff her at all, but I decreased her like kunai hitbox size.
Okay.
And then on top of that, I think Kiriko is a little too forgiving to play. I'm okay with cleanse as an ability, but the fact that she has a cleanse for her team and then a cleanse for herself, I don't think should be a thing. So teleport no longer cleanse.
What do you mean by cleanse?
Like as Kiriko? No, wait, I'm thinking of Moira.
Yeah.
Never mind. Duh.
Does her TPing get rid of status effects?
Why am I thinking that it does?
Does it? Because I've never actually considered that.
Maybe I don't think it does. I don't know. Anyway, I'm just gonna remove that. Anyway, the
Okay.
other thing is teleport range. I feel like she can just get in, put herself in a bad position, and be like, "Oop, I'm out of here."
Right. You think it
So
needs to
I
be a bit
decreased
closer?
her teleport range from 35 meters to 20 meters.
That's pretty hefty.
Yeah, it is pretty hefty, but it makes her a lot more of like she has to position herself intentionally.
Right.
You know?
So it's not that way you can't have those flanking Kirikos either that know they can just get in and out for free.
Exactly.
That is, I actually do agree with that. That's hard to
And
agree.
then my final change is similar to Diva. Just give her less cringe interactions and lore. just stop the cringe.
Yeah. And that's all you made to her?
Yep.
You feel like cleanse is completely fair?
I don't think it's like completely fair,
Mm-hmm.
but I think it is a good enough ability to where with her now not having the option to just teleport out of a fight instantly and like go on these really long flanks and it's harder for her to do more damage, having cleanse still be a reliable ability where it's like can save people from these ults. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
That's fair. That being said, I'm going to disagree with you.
Honk.
I didn't buff her at all, in the slightest. I've
Yeah, me
added some hefty, well, decent nerfs. I added a longer cooldown on cleanse. It's like what, a 14-second cooldown right now? 15?
I think it's 15 seconds. Yeah.
I would make it longer than that, like 16 probably. I would also add or reduce the amount of heal that cleanse gives you, because I think it gives you like what, 30-40 heal, something like that.
Yeah.
I would reduce or completely remove that, so all it has is this cleanse. I get that it's meant to be like a, oh, clutch, I saved you moment, while also giving you a little bit of heals. I would reduce how much it actually does, because if it, with its invincibility mechanic as well, why would you get a decent burst of heal as well when she already has a good primary fire of her healing? So I would just reduce the heal on that. And I would nerf how much healing gold cards give you. Not by too much, but just a little bit, to where it feels like if a Kiriko is pocketing you, you have a hard time dying, especially with how often she can heal. So either reduce how fast she gets tickets or reduce how much golden tickets give you. Maybe not by too much, because I still want her to be viable, but not to the point of where if she's pocketing one person over and over that it's super difficult to kill them, to where it's even hard to kill a single target with Dragon Blade, for as an example. And then a change I would make is I would completely remove the head box, or the head crit multiplier that she has, and make it on par with everyone else's, because she's support. I get why they have it, because kunais or whatever, but if that's the case, give that to Genji, because he has sharp throwing stars. So why should she have that and Genji not? So I would remove her crit buff completely. I would make her upper hitbox size bigger, so she is easier to hit on the upper body, even though she is slim. But if you've seen hurtbox images in Overwatch, they don't match their models anyways, so make her easier to hit on the upper side of her body. And I agree with you on the teleport change, in the sense of it's a bit too free. I think the range is fine, maybe nerf it a little bit like you said, but I think it should have a slow startup. Like, she can do it instantly, like maybe give her a half-second like cast animation or something. I just don't want it to be instant, to where it feels bad that like a Kiriko gets away every time at the end of a fight or something like that. So make it a bit more easy to kill her before she even has a chance to use it, is what I'm thinking there.
I agree. Like she has to like, yeah.
Like a teeny like she
does like her
startup
hand thing, and then we see like a little animation on the outside, and then she teleports.
Yeah.
So just like hand thing, and she's there.
Yeah. So just make it a little bit more punishable / telegraphed. So yeah,
I agree with that.
Cool and epic, because it seems like she's got a lot of like, I get away with this just because I'm Kiriko moments.
Yeah, 100%.
So make that a little bit easier to punish her. What do you think about the crit multiplier change?
I feel like that's just a fun thing that Kiriko has, where it's like, if you are able to hit these dinks, it's really satisfying to play, and it's not necessarily like, I feel like with my nerf to the hitbox size of it, it's gonna be a lot less likely that you're just randomly two-tapped, and you'll actually just get killed more by skillful Kiriko.
That would balance it out. You're right. I was gonna add on to that. I don't remember how though.
I feel like Lifeweaver is in kind of an interesting spot where he doesn't necessarily, in my opinion at least, there's a pretty big difference between a bad Lifeweaver and a good Lifeweaver. And I feel like he isn't necessarily broken, and he's not super weak either. My only change to him is that, similar to like, Mercy flying out or Sojourn sliding, is that when a teammate is life gripped, they're not immune to damage anymore. It's not a cleanse option to life grip someone in front of a diva bomb and have them live.
You want that removed.
And if you're like a good enough player, he life grips a tank and pulls them out, you can still shoot at them as they're being life gripped away.
Yeah,
and
they're
do
not
damage.
Invincible, right? Would you have it be a damage reduction, or just have them take full damage while they're being pulled?
They just take full damage because they're already being flung across the map where you're gonna have to be aiming at them. If you're like Hanzo or something, like you're probably not gonna be able to hit that anyway.
Hmm. I can agree with that, I think. Although with again, with how some sports are right now, I think he might need that little bit of invincibility, especially since Kiriko has it, Bap has it.
But see, that's what I'm trying to get rid of. Is like Bap's thing
Right.
only has 5 HP now. Kiriko still has hers, but it's like she's the only person in the game who really has that invulnerability now,
Right.
which gives her kind of an edge over like if you play Bap Kiriko, it's no longer like you have these two like super annoying abilities. It's like
Hmm.
Immort's down, boom, we can break it. It's not like everyone has to focus Immort or something. How many times do you pop an ult and you see Immort in there, like in grab, and it's at like half HP, and you're like, man, and then Ryan's holding a shield in front of it. Like that just wouldn't happen anymore.
True. Yeah, no, I definitely see that because we're definitely trying to get rid of that. The whole goal of making things invincible, I guess.
Yeah, making things invincible and just having like a lot of forgiveness.
True. So less forgiving, more. You have to put more thought around using the ability in the first place.
Yeah, and now it's like when you're using life grip, you see Diva pop ult, and you're not just sitting there like waiting to pull someone until the very last second. You're like, oh, I gotta get him out of here like now,
Right.
because this isn't gonna save him. Pull him out of there.
Mm-hmm. True. Okay. I didn't make any changes to his pole or his pedal because I think those are decently fine because I feel like when you're being pulled, I don't know. I feel like it's the invincibility factor isn't too big because how often do you see Pluto do a pull from like a diva bomb, like you said? Like,
It's not necessarily a pull from like a Diva Bomb, but it's like Doomfist is one shot, and then he gets pulled, and it's like, great. Now there's no counterplay to that. He's just removed from the fight. At least this way, if I'm able to hit those shots, I can confirm that kill. You know what I mean?
right? Yeah,
It's like if they're one shot and I shoot them as they're being life script away,
that's more
I still
fun to
get that
play
kill.
against too. So I think that'd be like a cool thing. I actually did change grip now that I'm reading back what I wrote. I'll get to that in a second though. I buffed him in a way of which I think he is a heal bot right now. He has absolutely very little damage potential. So I think they should not necessarily buff his damage, maybe buff his damage, but make his spread or make his like I should also mention right now that Life Weaver is my least played hero in the game. I have like an entire 15 minutes on him. So, but the time I have used his primary fire, it just feels so underwhelming to the point of where it should either do more damage or the spread should be released or spread should be reduced. So he can keep up with, let's say, Bap, Ana, and Kiriko and Ilari, whereas it feels like right now he's oh, I'm gonna send a flower to you. Oh, I'm gonna send a flower to you. Oh, you need high ground? You can have a pedal. Oh, you need to. You're in a tough spot. Let me pull you. He's just a heal bot that gets you out of a tough situation every now and then. Whereas I think he, to keep up with the other supports, needs a little bit of damage potential, in my opinion. And
I can see that. Yeah.
yeah. And nerfs I gave him is I want the tree to have a little bit less health. I think the healing on it is fine, but give it a little bit less health so it is a bit more similar to how Immort is right now in the sense of you need to watch where you put it. I get it's supposed to be like a middle of the field AoE burst for everyone, but make it a little bit easier to kill, I guess.
Yeah, so that it's not like you're just sitting there shooting at it the entire time it's up. Like, it should take as long to kill as it would to
be
just
up.
die out on its own.
Exactly. Which I think we're probably going to touch on later with Symmetra, if you're thinking on the same things that I am.
Yeah. Yup.
Okay, cool. And then I made a change to him where I will if you're being pulled, let whoever's being pulled cancel it. Like, give you the option. Like, if you jump or something, it pulls you out of the pull. Like, I feel like you being pulled should have some control over what is happening. That way, if you have troll life weavers, not that I've ever had one, you could just cancel it yourself.
Yeah. Though I'll be honest, I don't see a lot of troll life weavers.
I don't either, but I'm just saying, if you don't want to be pulled, then give you the option to combat that, I guess.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know
Cool.
what keybind that would be though. I'm thinking like,
I think that's why I'm saying
you
just
know,
jump. I
Okay.
can't think of
Yeah.
anything else it would be. Um,
Almost like a Hanzo jump ability, where it's just like double tap space and it's like canceled.
true. We're on Lucio then. Okay. I only buffed him and then added somewhat of a meme change. First of all, I think he should do more overall heals. So a slight heal buff, maybe, because if you buff Lucio too much, then he's too effective. I wouldn't increase the range on his speed or his heal. I just think he should heal more in the range that he does already have. And I would also, what is the cooldown on amp? Because it's like 12 seconds, isn't it?
Yeah, like 12 or 13, I think.
Yeah. So I would shorten that by maybe a second or two. I see why it's the cooldown that it is, but I think in a game where burst heals are very much meta, that he needs a little bit more burst heals and a little bit better overall heals. I didn't touch speed or anything because I think that's fine. Boop cooldown is fine. I don't think it needs to boop any farther. But I did make a small change to his ultimate where if he beats on top of someone, it does damage. Not to the point where it kills them, but does like, well, let's say 100 damage if you land on someone. Not nothing crazy, but
So you went for a little memington.
I did.
So I had a similar idea because especially in 5v5, Lucio's missing out on an entire other person in his radius that he can heal passively.
Yeah.
So instead of buffing his outright heals, I just wanted to increase his heal radius from 12 meters to 15 meters. Just so that he kind of has more of a chance to be healing everyone at the same time and get his ult as fast. Because a lot of times when you're playing Lucio now, it feels like you just have to be literally perfect with your amps in order to build ult at the same speed as like the enemy Genji or the enemy Junker.
Yeah.
And like it almost feels like punishing to go to speed boost because it's like, oh man, I could be missing out on like healing ult charge here. You know, so just having that extra range, I feel like will help him out a little bit.
Yeah.
And then I also changed his ult, but not in a meme way. When he hits the ground, you know, he's like, let's break it down, and he hits the ground.
Yeah.
It knocks people away from him and only him, like an Alari ult. It's like if Genji is near him and gonna dash and like try and blade him, and he pops his ult, that initial thing will boop Genji away.
Right. I do think that is a bit of a fun change, but now that I think about it a little bit, I think the reason they are buffing or nerfing Lucio, they're not really touching him right now. Because I think they think he's in a good space. Because if you touch Lucio too much, then he is a big problem. Like he was. Well, was he part of Goat's meta or not? I don't really remember.
Depending on the tanks that they were running, he could be.
Because we were playing a game versus the Lucio Ryan comp, and they were kind of running all over us till I swapped Bastion, and they couldn't just run over us anymore. So if you touch Lucio too much, speed boost is a very good ability, and it's shout on Junker Queen being as long on a cooldown as it is, but giving everyone speed boost is that long of a cooldown for a reason. Speed boost is a force to be reckoned with. So I don't think I don't think they're touching him. Because he's more of a util support, I think is what they're thinking, rather than a heal bot, like a lot of the supports are. But I think in Overwatch these days, you need heal bots a bit and a good util. But he has a good util, but not as good of a support or as a heal mechanic. So I think we both agree he needs a little bit of help on that. Okay, Mauga. They just nerfed him again.
Yeah, so I'm going off of his post-nerf status.
What do you mean? Just like before they nerfed him here?
No, like in his current spot in the game right now.
Okay, fair. I didn't buff him at all. No.
I also didn't buff him though. The only nerf I hit him with though is that his charge is no longer unstoppable.
You don't think that should be a thing?
To add something. No, I don't think that should be a thing because it's like, what's the point in giving people these abilities just to give one tank like, oh, he can't be stopped?
Another invincibility move, right?
Exactly. So that is now stoppable by Reinhardt charge, fully charged Doomfist punch, stuff like that, McCree grenade. It's just a movement ability now.
Yeah.
It still takes the same amount of like damage reduction, stuff like that, but it's just able to be stopped.
Right.
And then the last thing that I did with Mauga is I made it so that his ultimate is no longer a shield. You can still walk in, but you can't walk out. It's just a wall. So if a Mauga goes in there and he pops his ult, he doesn't get any support from his team. It's him versus whoever he trapped, unless everyone gets inside of that little thing.
Right. So you think it's more accurate to his reveal trailer, is what you mean?
Yeah, exactly.
It's where he's the only one in there versus everybody. He would just get stomped, though. I feel like if that were the deal, like if
But his
Ana
team
was
can
in
still
there,
go in there.
right?
They just can't like heal him from the outside, other than Moira.
Other than why Moira?
Just because she got that laser, bro.
Right. Fair, I guess. I think I made a little bit more harsh changes to him than you. I nerfed his overall damage still. I think his spread is fine. I think the burn time that they nerf is probably fine, but I still think per bullet, he probably does need another damage nerf. Although we might need to just play with him a bit more since this patch, so that may change. I also changed the amount of lifesteal he gets from his E ability, because it is 50%, I think we discussed earlier. I do think that needs to be touched more, because I don't know about you, but when he pops that and is just unloading on the other tank, he's pretty much unkillable and wins every tank matchup that probably isn't Junker Queen or like Roadhog possibly. So I would touch that a little bit. Or actually, this is actually a buff, not a nerf. I did buff him actually. I wrote it in the nerf category for whatever reason. I want his stomp to be a bit more consistent. Whereas it would stun people. Make the hitbox to where you land on someone and it stuns them a bit bigger to make it a bit more consistent. But then again, it might be a skill issue on my part that I'm not landing on people right, but it just doesn't seem that consistent to me, because if you're hitting those stomps, it should lead to an automatic kill, but a lot of times it still feels like they get away. But at the same time, I don't know how we feel about one-shot abilities like that. They don't say stun for very long, so that's a bit forgiving. But I would just make that a bit more of a consistent hitbox to stun them. And then a change I made is with his ultimate, let us be able to destroy it. Not just the shield, like put like something in the middle of the shield that has like similar to, not totally similar, but similar to Lifeweaver's tree, where give it like 500 health or something. And it would depend on like what if it scaled with how many people you trapped in the ultimate? And it got like, let's say 100 health for every person trapped in the ultimate. It probably wouldn't be around that, but let us destroy it, because if you're just trapped in it, it feels like there's very little you could do about it. So I would buff or nerf it a little bit in that regard. Like let us destroy it rather than just the shield.
Yeah, I think that's a good change.
Yeah, because it feels like there's very little counterplay. There's one thing you can do. You can get pulled by Lifeweaver. That's all you can do about being trapped in his ultimate. And I think Orisa
Hog
can
also works really well against it, because it just shreds through the shield.
True. I didn't consider that though, and he has a decent counter to Mauga, I think, right now as well. As well as Junker Queen. So we do agree that he like needs some touches, because he's still pretty much a force to be reckoned with. Okay, Mei. I didn't touch Mei that much. I honestly think she's in a decently fair position right now.
I agree.
The only nerf I gave to her is give her walls slightly less HP, because it still feels like that wall is... She feels like an off tank in the sense that she has that defensive ability that is a wall. I didn't touch her cryo freeze. I didn't touch her main or primary fire, because I think that is very decently fair. I didn't touch Blizzard at all either. So what would you change?
So my only change to Mei is when she goes into Ice Block, she only has 600 HP in there. Like, they can break you out of Ice Block. It has a health bar on it where you can crack her out of the ice. So,
right.
if she wants to use Ice Block to live through a Diva Bomb, she can. But, it makes it a little bit more of like a skillful timed ability instead of just like, oop, here's this. And then there's some counterplay to it where it's not just like, oh, Mei's the only one alive. And
you gotta wait for her to get out of Ice Block.
For 5 seconds. Exactly.
No, everyone can shoot it and break it. So I like that change. I didn't actually consider it. That's a pretty decent change. I'm pretty sure Blizzard has considered something like that, but I don't know what would be stopping them from adding something like that.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I'm just trying to make the game feel like there's less abilities that feel annoying to play against.
Right,
While
right.
also having those characters still feel fun and powerful enough to use.
Right. That makes sense. So I'm curious to see what you say about Reaper Wraith later then, and as well as like Moira Fade. So, but we'll get to that later because that's a bit different because you can move in those abilities, but we'll get to that when we get to that. So May, we agree she's pretty decently fair right now, considering her history. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So Mercy, I didn't buff her. I nerfed her and made somewhat of a change. I nerfed her in the way that is it just me or does she move way too fast in Valkyrie? Like she's called the Moth for a reason. Like you can't unless it's a skill issue. It's hard to hit her if a Mercy is flying around at the speed of light in Valkyrie. Like I get part of the reason you're Valking is to make you very hard to hit and that you're supposed to be alive during your ultimate, but if she's not like standing still rezzing someone during Valk or like being extremely predictable, if the Mercy is good, she's not being hit very often in Valkyrie. So I would nerf the speed of which she can fly just probably a little bit, and possibly up the cooldown of her fly in Valk because I think it's like a second and a half or like a second. It just seems a bit ridiculous. And I would also change why does she have infinite ammo in Valkyrie? That gives Mercies, it incentivizes them to DPS in their ultimate, which is not what Valkyrie is used for. So I would remove that and give her ammo in Valkyrie. But to compensate for that, make her reload animation possibly just a bit quicker. But I just want like a reload period. Yes, exactly. But just give it some sort of reload. So that's all I would change for Mercy. I just think Valk needs just a couple of tweaks.
Fair. So I went for a different thing. I think Mercy in Valk should kind of be a little bit more difficult to hit.
Right.
But I also usually play like a hit scan hero where it's not impossible to... I mean, you saw it just last night. Like, it's not impossible to kill a Mercy in Valk.
Exactly.
I did change her pocket ability of heroes, though.
Okay.
So Damage Beam is now on a Diva Matrix-esque like usage bar.
Okay.
So you can still toggle it whenever you want without having any cooldown. And then with that, when like whoever you're damage boosting is doing damage and you're getting like all the little feedback from it, it slows down the rate that it's used like Ramatra ult. So if you have a soldier and he pops a visor and you have full damage boost bar and you damage boost him and he's, taking away damage on people, it's going to slow down the rate of your damage boost. But if you're just pocketing like an Ashe who's not hitting anything, your damage boost bar is going to go down and you're going to be like, dang, I used all that and they did one little tick of damage. That was useless.
So how long do you think you would how much charges would you say the right click damage boost would have? Like how long would you be able to hold it before it ran out?
Probably same thing as Matrix, like 4 to 5 seconds.
Would the recharge rate be similar as well?
Yeah, I think so.
Interesting. I actually kind of like that, although...
Because then you can't just sit there and like hold right click throughout the entire fight and be like, okay, here we go.
Something.
And also like you need to be strategic and like talking with your teammates instead of just kind of like not botting out, because I think Mercy has a pretty high skill ceiling.
Mm-hmm.
But to just sit there and like right click a Junkrat for a whole fight, you might be like, all right, go in here. I'm gonna damage boost you while you like assassinate this guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or like, oh, McCree's about to pop his ult and I just used up all my damage boost. Darn.
Right. I decently like that change. I can see why it's not a thing in the game's meta, because you can't touch Mercy without there being a freaking riot. Because if I'm not mistaken, it's Ana and Mercy that are the most played heroes in the game. So it's very ridiculous if you tweak Mercy that much, and I think Blizzard honestly keeps in mind the Mercy player base when making patches.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's a bit ridiculous. They're held in a bit of a higher regard, I think, which is silly. But I like that. Is that all the changes you made? Moira. Okay. I made a couple of changes to her. You can start though.
So I didn't buff her at all. I feel like Moira is one of those heroes where it's a little cringe to play against her.
Mm-hmm.
So all I did is I nerfed her, and I made it so Fade is from a 6-second cooldown to an 8-second cooldown. and it no longer cleanses.
You
Like,
wanna know what's funny?
It shouldn't cleanse. What?
I didn't remove the cleanse. Oh wait, I did. I made it longer cooldown and remove cleanse. We made the exact same freaking change. Okay, yeah, that was my nerf. Longer cooldown. I made it up from 6 to also 8. So literally the exact same. And my change was fade no longer removes effects.
Yep.
It's been a meme for a little bit now that I have to remind people that fade is on a 6-second cooldown or removes effects and gains you huge mobility and invincibility. It's a broken move on a 6-second cooldown, and people don't understand.
I would say it's worse than Kiriko Teleport.
I would agree to that, but I Kiriko Teleport doesn't remove effects as far as I know. But the distance you get on fade, we might have to test, but I'm pretty sure. Well, I just don't like the amount of distance you also get on fade.
Oh, it does not cleanse negative status on her anymore. Okay.
Wait, it did,
which
though?
means apparently it did, which means that fade is a better ability than teleport.
I don't know. Being able to go
you
through
can also
walls seems broken to me.
But you can also go anywhere you want in fade.
True. I'd say they're both good in their own respects. So I guess it just depends on who you are. But
I think teleport's on a 12-second cooldown. Moira can fade twice in the amount of time.
That is kind of a big factor, huh?
And it cleanses Moira twice, and Moira has a lot more self-sustain than Kiriko does.
Right.
Just with outright healing output, because she can throw out a healing orb and run with that, and then that's 300 heals that she just has in her pocket.
True. So fade might honestly be a good margin better, but I just think the whole idea of Kiriko being able to teleport through walls at a decent distance is just broken in general, but fade definitely competes. Okay, did you make any other changes?
Nope,
that was it. Okay, I did make a slight buff. When you are using her primary fire, aka her heals, I get that it's AoE and hits multiple people, but the amount of healing she gives is slightly underwhelming, so I would slightly buff her primary heals by just a little bit, because it just does not feel satisfying in 5v5, because I don't think it's been touched since Overwatch 1, if I'm not mistaken. It just feels slightly underwhelming, because we all don't like DPS Moiras, but I don't think her damage needs to be touched at all, because it's probably fine, but make her heal roll a bit more impactful. I wouldn't touch her orbs in any way, though, because they both seem fine, the damage one and the heal one. So we basically agree on Moira, but what would be a reason you wouldn't buff her M1 heals? You just think they're fine?
I do think they're fine, and I think her M1 heals are more of like a sustain, whereas having a bubble that you can throw out is like where the big heals comes from.
True,
to lob a bubble in there and have just that amount of heals in addition to her left click is where Moira gets broken.
True, and fate existing. Anyways, Orisa, I'm curious to hear what you have to say, but I'll go first. I didn't buff her. I didn't buff her. Nerfed her in the sense of I think she needs to take more damage and Fortify. I still think having Fortify be what it is, letting her keep that movement speed and damage reduction and be immune. Still, I still hate that it is, but that's unfortunately what Fortify is, so I'm keeping that. But I am nerfing how much damage reduction she does take while in Fortify. I didn't touch the cooldown or anything. I'm just making it so she takes more damage in Fortify. And then I think she needs longer cooldowns on both of her Javelin abilities, because if I'm not mistaken, her Javelin throw is on like a 6-second cooldown, and her Javelin spin isn't much different than that. So maybe add a second or two of cooldown to those, because they are impactful. Like her Javelin spin it's a defense matrix, and you can push people with it, and she gets a movement speed boost. I wouldn't touch any of that. The only thing I would touch is the cooldown on it, because I think it's fine as it is. It's fine. I wouldn't touch the Javelin at all, just the cooldown. And that's all I made to Orisa.
You made a lot more changes than I did.
Yeah.
My biggest thing with Orisa is I think right now, I'm not sure how strong she's going to be. The no damage fall off thing seems a little strong.
It is.
But at the same time, I don't necessarily hate that, since she is projectile.
Yeah.
It'll be hard to land those shots at a distance anyway, unless you're like contesting a Widowmaker who's just standing still or something like that.
Yeah. Sniper horse.
But with that, it does open her up to do more damage. So I increased her ult cost by just a little bit, maybe like 10 to 15%. And then I also have kind of a grievance with Fortify in that like she's this big hulking robot who is now like fortifying and bunkering down. I feel like that should cause some movement speed. I feel like Fortify should reduce her movement speed by 25%.
Has that ever been a thing?
I don't think so.
I feel like that might have been a thing, or maybe I'm just Mandela affecting it, but
maybe. I have no idea.
But
I feel like it's a good trade-off to where it's like, okay, I'm gonna take a lot less damage, but
and
I'm a little
tanky
bit
now.
slower.
Yeah. I can see
tanky,
that.
And with that, I'm slower.
Right. I want to say that was a thing at one point. I still want to say that was a thing. I don't know why they would have changed that in the first place, but anything else with Orisa?
Yep, that's all I changed. Her ult cost and Fortify.
Bet. So we agree she's like in her role as a tank, though she's sitting pretty tight.
Yeah, she's pretty solid. She doesn't need any buffs. She doesn't need any help.
No, definitely.
She's just less tankiness or more punishment for using abilities, I would say. Maybe not punishment, but like more consequence. Fortify. It's not just like a get out of jail free card. Oop, I'm running away now. It's like, all right, I'm a little bit slower now. I actually have to like take this into consideration.
Exactly. Cool. All right, moving on to Pharah. You can start with Pharah.
So I think Pharah is in a really good spot right now. The only change that I made is she has constant ambient rocket jet sounds when she's in the air. You cannot really get flanked by Pharah anymore or have her like fly way up in the air and then just drop unexpectedly, and you don't even hear her like at all. Right? You will constantly hear where a Pharah is in the air like you would an actual jet.
Right.
Or even like a drone. You'd hear a drone flying around and be like, what the? You know, you'd be able to look around and hear it. Pharah should be able to be heard at all times while she's up in the air.
Right. Definitely. I didn't consider that. I mean, she kind of does have that already, but not to the extent I think is what you're trying to get at.
Well, see, if she's not using her rocket, she doesn't make any sound in the air.
Right.
So, like, she could fly way up in the air and just kind of sit up there and puff every once in a while, and then you push through a choke, and she just falls for like 100 feet, and then pops her ult, and there's like no warning at all, and you're just like, oh. And especially with the cast time on her ult being literally instantly, like having that preemptive warning that allows for counterplay, I think is just fine.
True. That's all you touched with her, is just give her a little bit of a passive, almost, is what it seems like. A
passive nerf, I think.
Yeah.
Maybe? Yeah, just a passive nerf.
Cool.
She just is louder now.
When I wrote this down, I don't think I was considering higher level play Pharah, because I buffed her twice. I made her splash damage do slightly more damage, but I'm considering what makes Pharah good is also having a Mercy on your team. So if you have Pharmacy constantly being damage boosted, and you're taking a lot of damage from not being directly hit, maybe wasn't the best thing I could have wrote down, because Pharah can be pretty oppressive, and buffing her splash damage might not have been a good thing for me to write down, but I did. I also gave her boop cooldown slightly less, because I think it's on like what? I think it is a 6-second cooldown or something along those lines. I would like still make it 5 seconds, because I don't know about you, there aren't too many maps where, I mean, unless I'm playing Pharah on like, let's say Lijiang Village, I think is what the map is called. Or just it's the one with the square with the two outsides and you can boop them off. Maybe 5 seconds is a bit of a short cooldown, but I don't know about you, but whenever I am playing Pharah, I'm using her boop move to move me around, not move other people around. And I think moving people off the map with that ability seems a bit more niche rather than just using it for mobility yourself. So that's the reason I would be making the cooldown shorter, but I didn't consider much using it offensively, because I personally do not use that move too offensively, since I think Pharah's primary fire is just more consistent than trying to boot people off. But anyways,
Mhm.
I did make a slight, well, might be pretty significant change actually. And this might also be skill issue on my part, but Pharah does have the most damaging ultimate in the game in the amount of time it takes to use it, if that makes sense. Like the short burst of damage is the most damage in the short amount of time, other than being like headshot by a Widowmaker through damage boost, nano boosted, BAP window, headshot, whatever. I believe it is the most damaging, but I would give her a damage reduction while in ultimate, similar to McCree in High Noon. Nothing crazy though. I would still make it like a 20% damage reduction, like negligible, but I don't think she should be. I mean, there were literal memes before about how justice and then she'd die. So I would change that slightly, because it seems like she's, unless you're positioning yourself right, very vulnerable in Barrage. So yeah, I would change that.
I agree with that.
Really? I would have thought you'd have been like, but if you position yourself right, it's still strong, and it's just, you need to position yourself right. That's what makes it a high risk, high reward. I thought that's what you would say.
But also just like being in armor, I feel like she should take less damage in her ult at least. You know, she's literally wearing like full on armor, like Reinhardt. You know,
Yeah,
she's wearing an Iron Man suit basically.
True.
So like at least in her ult, she should take some reduced damage.
Yeah.
I don't think it'd be anything crazy. Maybe
No.
25%.
Yeah, exactly. Just something that makes her not die instantly out of it. Maybe to compensate for that change, maybe nerf the damage slightly if she's a bit more tanky in it. Nerf the damage slightly on it if you're making her a bit more harder to kill, just to compensate a little bit for that. Any further thoughts on Flying Lady?
None.
Cool. Ram. I made some dope changes to Ram. I will start. I buffed him in 3 ways, and technically 4 ways, because the change I made to him is technically a buff as well. Supposedly he's sitting in a pretty tight spot right now, but I think he does need a bit more help, but I think these are very niche as well. I made his punches a little bit larger, the actual projectile itself, because they seem a bit small for how big his fists are. And the animation just seems a bit deceiving, in my opinion. And that's not the reason why, but you, more often than not, and this also might be skill issue, I'm missing squishies when I shouldn't be, I guess, which could very much well be skill issue. So make the projectile size bigger on the punches. I would give more HP to his shield, but also to compensate for that, add a little bit longer of a cooldown on it. And I get why that's not a thing. It's not meant to be Overwatch 1 shield simulator, but even if it's just 100 more, I feel like that would help him out in his tankiness as holding a position, I guess. I would also make him punch slightly faster in robo mode. Not too much faster, but slightly faster. I did nerf him as well, though. To compensate for him being a bit more better in robot mode, I would make it a longer cooldown, because if I'm not mistaken, it's on like a 5 or 6 second cooldown. It's not long at all. He can go in it constantly if he really wants. So I would make it like an 8 to 10 second cooldown around that, because he can go in it a bit too often. So his DPS potential would be pretty high if the buffs I gave him in robot mode were to also go into effect. And then another change I made to robot mode, and this is the last thing I have for Ramatra, is to make his punches travel slightly farther, so that way you don't feel like when you're in robot mode, you're a big hitbox and you can be stunned by, let's say, Sigma Rock, Javelin. You can even probably get charged super easy in that mode. So I would make it so you don't have to chase them down with your punches if the projectiles are going farther. I think the damage is fine. I think it just needs slightly bigger hitbox and go slightly farther and faster punches. So I would just make punchy boy mode.
He'd be really strong.
He would be really strong, which is why the robot mode would be on a longer cooldown as well.
I made some kind of similar changes. So my biggest thing with Ramatra is Ravenous Vortex in his trailer was used as like, oh, he's gonna counter flying people.
That never happens.
And it just never happens. The distance on it is literally 8 meters. I've never seen it be used to counter someone who can fly.
Yeah.
So I'm increasing the vertical range of that from 8 meters to 25
Holy
meters. I think
crap.
it needs to be huge.
You wanted to go all the way to the top of Legion freaking tower. What the heck?
Yeah, I feel like it should be like this pull the flying people out of the air thing. It should be used as like almost like a junk trap for people flying up high instead of just like, well, throw this here.
Is it just me, or is whenever that move actually grounds you in game, you forget it can do that?
Yeah, literally.
Like it goes shoop, and you're like, oh yeah, that ability can do that every time. I'm surprised by it.
Oh, that's what happened.
Yeah, I'm like, wait, why did I get sucked to the ground real quick? Anyways, continue.
My second buff is punches are now hit scan. So as he punches, it'll like instantly shoot that projectile out and hit whoever's in front. Similar like playing Reaper, like up close, it's like you're not trying to lead shots on someone who's right next to you.
No.
So punches are now hit scan. And with my buff to Ravenous Vortex, I also nerfed a little bit where the movement speed is no longer like a 40% decrease, but only 25% decrease. Since it is going to have so much more like vertical range, I feel like people should be able to get out of that a little faster.
Right. But here's the thing. You would be nerfing that for the sole purpose of it hopefully catching 2 to 3 heroes in the roster, which the 3 I'm thinking of is Lari, Echo, and Pharah. I don't think it would have a chance to hit anyone else up that high unless you're catching a Widowmaker that's hooking for whatever reason.
Yeah, or Mercy.
Or Mercy, yes, Mercy as well.
Because Mercy goes in there, does a super jump, you throw a Vortex there, boom, Mercy's pulled in. But I didn't want it to be like a death sentence, you know?
Yeah. It would be though, because if you're getting slammed down that far, you would pretty much die in that situation. You should at least.
Well, it doesn't do any damage when it slams you.
Well, it doesn't, but like you'd be brought down so fast, and to the point of where you're being, well, I guess you are nerfing the slow penalty. So maybe they wouldn't die if you'd be also touching the how fast or how slow it makes them. So I can see why you make that change. But then it adds
a tank who's actually able, like before Mauga, there wasn't anyone who could really contest the flying heroes unless you were going to go Wrecking Ball.
Right.
Who has just terrible damage at range, especially.
Yeah.
So it's like, what are you going to do?
You're not.
But now we have like more of a, all right, you're going to fly? I'm gonna pull you down here.
Yeah. All right. Bet. Anything else you change on him, or is that it?
Nope, that's it.
Cool. You think robot mode is chill where it's at, other than except for you would make it hit scan?
Yeah, I think it's chill where it's at, to be honest. I feel like the cooldowns between Ravenous Vortex, Shield, and robot mode all kind of work really well to cycle through. Yeah, I feel like it's fair.
Bet. Okay, Reaper. So we know that a Reaper change is in the works, because I don't know about you, he feels like an outdated hero to play. He's probably one of the lesser touched heroes in the history of the game, other than they sometimes touch the spread on his guns. And I know they've changed like the teleport sound effect, so he can be like Sneaky Reaper with his TP. That's like all I remember them touching him. So I did buff him, but I added a question mark to my buff because I'm unsure as to how this would affect the game. I made him just do more damage. I didn't spread or change his spread or anything, because I think that's fine, but more damage per shot, because I think, and it's an argument for a lot of my buffs here. The way healing is right now, you need to pick either nerfing healing or buffing damage, which we're doing a bit of both. That's why I'm saying with my buffs to slightly buff the damage to compensate for the amount of heals we're taking away and invincibility moves. So slight damage per shot I would add to Reaper. And then a change I would give to Reaper is, what did I actually write? Hold up. Okay, I don't know how I would change him, but give him an ability. Give him a whole new ability that gives him more versatility rather than just being shotgun simulator. I'm gonna get up and shoot you simulator, and then TP or not TP, Wraith out. Give him a new ability. I don't know what you would do. Give him a smoke bomb for all I care, because he is smoky. Give him something that's just not, oh, I'm gonna stand and shoot at you and then Wraith away, because that's all he does. That's what I was saying when he feels outdated. Give him something. And another change I would make is, I believe he does make a very loud noise when he TPs, and I would make it probably slightly quieter. So that way we have flanking Reaper in the back line constantly. I would love that. Because I understand TP is mostly used as like a I'm getting back to the fight faster ability, or if you're one of those Reaper players that TPing behind, I would help them out with that somewhat slightly.
So, I think Reaper, like you, it's kind of in a weird spot.
Mm-hmm.
He gets out damaged by a lot of tanks now, and he's supposed to be the tank this story, but like Reaper can't even like go up and successfully 1v1. Mauga can't really 1v1 Reinhardt a lot of times. Can't 1v1 Orisa, especially with Harpoon, and now damage fall off. So I would mostly buff Reaper. I think something that is interesting about Reaper is he's kind of like this brawler type hero, but you almost have to play him like Dive, where you go in, do a little damage, you take damage, then you wraith out, and then you have to wait.
Yeah.
I would make it to where Wraith is able to sustain him a little bit more. Instead of being like this, I always have to leave thing, Wraith form would regenerate 15 HP per second that he's in it.
Ooh, so you want it to be a moving cryo freeze.
A moving cryo freeze. It doesn't heal a lot, but it heals enough to where if he's not getting healed by his team, it's not just like he Wraith forms and then gets killed as soon as he's out of it. You know what I mean?
So similar to Doomfist and Meteor Strike right now. It gives a slight heal while he's in it. Okay.
I would also give him a slight lifesteal increase. Nothing huge, nothing crazy, but just enough to where when he's in these fights with these high damage tanks,
he's more sustained.
Not just like for some reason dying. He can sustain himself a lot better.
Right.
And then my last change is just give him a little bit more damage from afar. I know he has shotguns, but it's like it's after 10 meters, you're literally doing nothing. And it just makes him not viable in a lot of situations. So this would help to give him like a little bit more viability from range.
Right. Just with his shotgun, so that would be affecting the spread, right? Like a closer spread. That way.
No, not a closer spread. It just has less damage fall off.
Ah, okay. The fact that he does have damage fall off, it seems very dumb. he's a shotgun wielder boy. I don't know.
But he's also a hit scan shotgun wielder boy.
True. Cool. So we both believe he's in a weird spot and just needs something to be a bit more effective. Cool. Didn't nerf. Neither of us nerfed him in any way, right?
I didn't nerf him. No.
Neither did I. Cool. So he just believes he needs a little bit of help because he feels awkward to play, or just like his kit in general feels a bit overshadowed by Sojourn just existing.
Yeah, literally.
Okay, cool. We can move on to Ringus now, Reinhardt. I didn't make too many changes to him. I think he's sitting decently tight right now. Similar to Ramatra, I also increased his shield just a little bit. Not by much, like 100. It just feels like 1600. I want my 2000 shield back. I don't care about Overwatch, but I want my 2000 shield back. I can't say for what reason. I just feel like my shield gets melted with the DPS that are currently good right now, like Bastion, Sojourn, Hanzo. They're shield melters. And I feel like Reinhardt's that guy that's on point or holding a corner, and I want it to be just a little bit more prevalent and noticeable, I guess. And I also made a change to Shatter, and I don't like the change they made, I believe, in Overwatch 2, where the closer you are, the longer you're stunned, or it might be vice versa. The farther away you are, the more you are stunned. I forget what it is. I would revert it to what it was before, to where it was just you were stunned for the same length no matter where you got hit in the Shatter. And that way, it seems like it would be a more impactful ultimate, rather than, I feel like if you got shattered from 10 meters away, you stand up a second later. So I want his ult to be a bit more impactful, and for his shield to have a bit more prevalence.
Fair. I think those are good.
Yeah, bet.
Yeah. So I also kind of buffed Reinhardt. blocking enemy damage now will reduce the fire strike cooldown.
How
So the
much
more
are you
damage you
thinking?
block, I don't know, because it also it depends on like how much damage you block, but maybe like every 500 health on his shield is like 2 seconds gone on fire strike.
Well, it's only a 5-second cooldown, so that
But if you're just
would.
sitting there blocking a lot of damage, I feel like that opens you up to be able to do more damage than with.
Well, I have one problem with that. It falls in the same category as you don't want to shoot Doom's block because it'll give him rocket punch, whereas you wouldn't want to shoot Ryan's shield period because you'd be giving him more fire strike. So I don't know how I
Right.
feel about that.
And I'm not necessarily opposed to that,
Mm-hmm.
where then it's just like, Ryan can actually have a shield instead of be like, oh, his shield's gone. Because once his shield is gone, he's kind of
He's gone,
useless,
oh.
especially in poke things.
Yeah.
Where it's like, now it's like there's a consequence to just like shooting Ryan's shield. He's gonna have more fire strikes. He's still able to get value out of being not a shield bot, but blocking that damage. It should
Right.
be rewarding to block damage as Reinhardt instead of being like, oh, I'm not getting any alt charge, even though I'm protecting my team
Right.
perfectly.
I would like that ability better if he didn't have 2 charges to fire strike. I would like that better if he just had the single fire strike and could constantly get it quicker if he did have that cooldown reduction.
In addition to that, then, another shield buff.
Mm-hmm.
When it breaks, Reinhardt gets a 20% speed boost for 3 seconds.
I like that. I like that a lot.
So you're trying to push in, your shield's breaking, boom, your shield breaks. Now it's swinging time. Now you can run in there and swing at people for 3 seconds. Or if you're trying to get out and your shield breaks, you're not just like, ooh, I'm dead. Ooh, I'm dead.
Well, I'm not sure how I feel about that either now, because it just occurred to me that if a good Reinhardt player really never lets his shield get broken, I guess this gives him a reason to let it break. But
Exactly.
You want that shield uptime so you can have that that role of being stand boy in tank mode. Hold shield.
Yeah. So I feel like
Yeah.
this makes it more just rewarding to block damage
Yeah.
as Reinhardt. It
Mhm.
feels really annoying. Like, as Sigma, you throw out a shield, you can still do damage.
Mm-hmm.
Right? As Ram, throw out a shield, you can still do damage.
Right.
As Ryan,
I have to
hold
stand
your
here.
shield, you're doing nothing.
Yeah.
I
guess that is the reason he does have the biggest shield, though, with the most health, is because he can't do anything, and he is just supposed to be standy boy there. But I
But
definitely,
he still
I
can't
definitely
do
see your
anything while
point.
his shield is up, but it's more rewarding for him to actually block for his team instead of like, duh.
Fair.
And like, okay,
Duh.
Reinhardt versus Bastion. You go Bastion and just melt through a Reinhardt. It's like, he's like, oh man, dude, they have a Bastion. Now I have to switch to Sigma.
Yeah.
But now it's like, oh, shield's broken. I can run in on him. I can swing. Shield's broken. He just shredded through my shield. That's fine. He just charged me up a fire strike after I just used one.
Yeah. Very interesting changes revolving around breaking the shield. I kind of like it.
And then the last change, like the last 2 changes that I made, were charge hitbox is just adjusted to be more accurate, whether you're gonna pin someone or boop them.
Yeah.
There's so many times where you hit someone like dead on and they just get launched back instead of pinned.
And you're like, huh? And here you are getting punched around a corner as Doom from
Yeah,
Doomfist.
exactly. And then my other change is Shatter now only starts when the hammer like hits the ground.
When does it start now?
Like as he's saying hammer, if you're right next to him, you're getting stunned.
Yeah, true. Just Shatter needs to be a bit more consistent.
Yeah, Shadow needs to be more consistent.
Yeah. Okay, so we both agree on that. Cool.
But I didn't want to change charge because I feel like charge is honestly a high risk, high reward like ability, and it doesn't need to be changed, especially like I don't know. It was like, oh well, if your shield breaks, why don't you just charge out? But it's like, charge isn't that fast.
It's
but at
decently
the same time,
fast.
It has that whole cast time where he has to drop his shield, and then like it's almost a second before he actually starts moving.
Cool.
So that's my Reinhardt changes.
Bet. Okay, moving on to Roadhog. I actually buffed him a little bit, but it's compensated with some nerfs. So I guess I'll start with the nerfs. I would make his hook on a longer cooldown. It's on its 8-second cooldown. It's been on its 8-second cooldown for 6 years now. 7, I would think now. I think even with it not being able to one-shot at full health, it can still one-shot at 90% health, especially with all the buffs that he just got and the trap. I would want him to pick and choose when he uses his hook a bit more carefully now. Instead of 8 seconds, I'd up it to like 10 or 11 seconds even, because it pulls you into the enemy team. So whether the hook one-shots or not, the team should be able to finish off whoever you hooked. So it's whether or not it's meant to one-shot or not, you still get pulled in and should die anyways. So I would up its cooldown. I would lessen how much heals he gets from his take a breather. I know they just nerfed it to like 450 down from like 500. So I would take it slightly down from that, even like 400. Like, he has 700 health. He should not be able to heal himself more than half of his own HP. Which is, I guess, why Ana is strong versus him. But I would still nerf overall how much he can heal with this take a breather. What did I mean by this? I typed more damage absorbed to HP. Oh no, that's Sigma. Never mind. I would make his trap slow less. Because I feel like if you step on it, you are stuck in that Johnny forever. But to compensate for that, I would make the trap's initial damage do a little bit more. So it's more of a Junkrat trap that slows less, I guess. I don't know what the damage would be that I would buff it to. I just think it should do more if I'm making it slow less. So that's all the changes I would make to Roadhog.
I think Roadhog is in a pretty good spot right now. The game isn't fun when Roadhog is strong.
No.
He definitely should be used in niche situations.
Mm-hmm.
But on that, I also feel like when a Roadhog is good or your team's not focusing him, he is still a little cheese to play against and annoying and just not fun. So I basically only nerfed him a little bit, where movement abilities are now able to dislodge hook. So let's say you're McCree and you get hooked, you can roll.
I'm not sure.
You can roll and it gets you out of it.
There are a
so then it's not just like, oh, I'm
abilities.
hooked, I'm dead. There are some stipulations. Tracer can't blink out because her movement ability isn't a dash. She's just going really fast through time.
Yeah.
Right? So she can't get out. Mercy Fly, I also feel like wouldn't be able to get out. Like, Zen obviously would be an easy kill. Ana would obviously be an easy kill. But, like, if you have that ability and you get hooked, I don't feel like it should be, oh, I'm dead. You know, you get hooked as Reaper, you can Wraith form as you're getting hooked.
Right.
And just get out of that. I feel like Hog especially just allows for no counterplay, and it's really annoying when it's like, oh, I'm hooked and I'm gone. Great. Fantastic. Oh, yeah. I'm hooked over a pit and now I'm gone. Yep, that was a deserved kill. You know, it's like this way, it's like, oh, I'm actually okay to get out of this.
And you want him to also have to look out for those abilities. Like, oh, let's say the Genji used dash. Oh, I can hook him now. So you gotta wait for that.
Yeah, it's not just a free, oh, pull him in, kill him, ha ha ha, I'm a tank.
Right. I'm a tank. I have some gripes with it, but I can somewhat get behind it. I feel like that would make Hook somewhat useless if in some situations, but with it being the ability that it is, I can definitely see why you're making that change. Did you have anything else or no?
Nope, that's it.
Cool and epic. So Sigma, I think we can both agree he's in somewhat of a solid spot right now. That being said, I buffed him a little bit. I don't know about you. I played a fair bit of Sigma. I want his shield to regen just a little bit faster. Because it's only 600 health, and that Johnny gets melted, and even if you manage it correctly, Bastion's strong right now, and I get the whole idea behind Sigma's kid countering Bastion is, oh, once shield goes down, you have your suck. But shields in general, I'm seeing a trend. I'm buffing them a lot, and it's not the case of where I want it to be like Overwatch 2 or like Overwatch original. I just feel like holding corners as Sigma should be a little bit easier with how much he has shield, and then I left his shield at 600. I didn't touch that. And then with his suck, I changed, well, like I said during Roadhog, he gets more health based on how much he actually absorbs. Because I feel like once you see Sigma pop that, you're just not shooting at him. So
Yeah.
I would say it's like, let's say like a 35% conversion rate. So you take 100 damage, you would get 35 health back from it. So somewhere
honestly,
around that range.
I would say maybe more than that. Because like
you
you
would
said,
say
people
more?
don't shoot it a lot. And think about it this way. They gave Doomfist 80 damage and he gets a cooldown completely reset.
Yeah.
So 100 damage for 35 health, I think to be able to compete with like Malgun people, it could be like honestly 50%.
Yeah,
he gets back.
I consider that, but I'm like 50% might be a bit too much. But now that you mentioned the whole Doomfist thing, maybe.
Think about how much health Malga gets back from shooting people. Then.
Yeah.
So I feel like that gives Sig a little bit more survivability, especially since up close he's kind of difficult to be effective with unless you're crazy with your rocks.
True. But to compensate for that change, I also added a longer cooldown to it. I think it's on a decently long cooldown right now, but maybe add a second or two to it. Because I feel like if a good Sigma is managing his shield right then, he'll pretty much always have suck right after it, which I get is the gameplay loop of Sigma, but make him use his suck a bit more carefully if it's on a longer cooldown, and that'll hopefully be the goal of the change, I guess.
I like that.
Yeah, and that's all I got.
I think that survivability is good.
Yeah.
So my buff to him is kind of an inadvertent buff to Ana, where Nano Boost will affect his slam as well. Currently, all it affects is a damage done when he gets picked up, like when he picks people up. It doesn't affect the slam. It won't do a lot more, but it'll do 65% instead of 50% damage when he slams them down.
Right.
And then the only other change, because I feel like Sigma is in a pretty solid spot. He's not bad. He's not good. He's able to be played in a lot of scenarios. It's just about being able to play him well. The only thing that I'm changing is he can kind of toggle his rock, so to say, where it's like he forms it and he doesn't immediately have to throw it. He can form it and just kind of hold on to it for a little bit before he throws it.
Okay, but he can't like pocket or anything. He has to keep holding it and can move, right?
Yeah, he has to keep holding it before he can throw.
I like that. That's actually cool change.
So like you get picked up, you can, as you're getting picked up, you can hold rock until you look around and find the person and then just throw it instantly.
I assume it would be like a movement speed reduction as well while he's holding it.
Yeah.
Okay. That's how I'm envisioning, because if he's moving the same speed while also charging it, that'd be funny.
Yeah, no.
Cool. Anything else for Sigma, or are we good to move on?
I think we're good to move on.
Cool. Sojourn. Okay. I believe before they buffed her this patch, she was in a pretty solid position where I felt like she might have been a bit strong, which is why I also have a little bit of nerfs here. Decently fair to go against. So I didn't buff her at all. I did. I reverted the change she just got. Remove that 25 cap, dude. That is stupid. Especially if you have a good Sojourn and a Mercy Pocket to boot. Just take that away. She did not need that. And then I nerfed her in the sense of she has to land more shots to charge the railgun. And that's all I did. Because I think she was fine before. But the only change I would make is slightly more shots to charge the railgun.
I'm good with that.
Bet.
I also did buff Sojourn because I thought she was in a pretty alright spot. I don't think she's necessarily broken now, but I feel like Sojourn, just at her core, is kind of just very strong in general. I mean, I want to change that a little bit. So I nerfed her where Overcharge, when she's nanoed, can only do 190 damage.
There's a cap?
Unless you headshot. That. No, because the fact that it charges so fast and she's nano boosting can just one shot is like, nah, where's the counterplay to that? You know what I mean?
None. Skill issue.
There is none. It's you win the fight. Hit the button, win the fight, you know?
Right.
And not that aiming isn't like part of it, where it's like it depends on the soldier's skill, but like to have that option where it's like you can one shot any squishy
Mm-hmm.
and you can do it like 7 times during your ult is like nah, we need a cap on that.
Right.
And then also when she has like a fully charged shot, I want her movement speed to be decreased by 10%.
Just period.
You know,
throughout.
just yeah, when she has a fully charged shot,
Mm.
movement speed decreased by 10%.
But here's the thing:
Then it's
you're
like, oh, you know Sojourn's charged. She knows she's charged, but it's like there's a consequence to sitting there and kind of holding that charged shot. You can't just charge it up and be like, peek for a second, boom, dead. You know?
right.
It's like there's actually.
I don't know if it's the way I play Sojourn. I'm never usually holding on to that shot for very long.
No, not like holding on to it for very long, because obviously there's a decay.
You can't,
like,
yeah.
When you're at 100% charge and you have so much potential, that potential should come with like a downside to me.
Right. So let's put a permanent 10% speed reduction on Hanzo real quick.
Yeah, facts.
I can get behind that. Yeah, for sure.
And then my last change is just her hitbox is a lot less lean intensive, where if she's strafing back and forth, it's not like her upper torso completely changes hemispheres as she goes back and forth.
Yeah.
So it's more consistent to be able to hit her when she's like spamming strafe.
Right.
And it's not just like, bro, there's no way you can hit that.
Right. Cool. I think it's cool. We think she's both in a decent position, but needs maybe some slight changes when she's at her strongest. So cool. All right, moving on to Soldier. I'll go ahead and start. I did buff him, but not in the way that you think. Why is his heal on a 18-second cooldown? Why is that a thing?
Not a healer.
He's not a healer, but like, does it need to be on that long of a cooldown? I don't understand. I would probably drop it to like a 13 or a 14-second cooldown, because maybe I'm not understanding how impactful that ability is. But 18 seconds? Like, are they trying to make it a 1.5 time use each fight? Like, I'm confused, because I get it heals him to full HP a lot of the time, but a lot of the time soldiers are playing high ground, running away to let's say they're shooting at you on the high ground, they run away, go to a health pack. So I'm curious as to why it's that high of a cooldown when he can just go get a health pack anyways. Like, I'm just confused. Anyways, I nerfed him as well. A direct hit Helix does 120 damage, and I'm sick of being direct shot by Helixes, and all of a sudden I'm at 80 health. So I would change the direct hit to just 100 damage rather than 120, because I think that's a lot of damage for just a direct hit. What is it, 6-8 second cooldown for whatever Helix is? So I would change that just a little bit. And I did also make another change of I would bring the spread back, honestly. I don't like his only what you call it, help me out here.
Recoil.
Recoil, yeah, there you go. I don't like that. I like how it was before. Or maybe keep the recoil and add spread after 5 to 6 shots, something like that. And then give him fall off, because if I'm not mistaken, he has 0 fall off.
No, he has fall off damage for sure.
Okay. I was not aware of that, because it seems like even if he's pelting at you from halfway across the map on Blizzard World second point, it feels like I'm taking so much damage from him. So I was not aware that he already added fall off. So carry on. That's all I had with Soldier.
So my issue with Soldier is that he's too survivable.
Fair.
Like, he is a DPS, and he just has like he's meant to be for like the Call of Duty players, where it's like, oh, he can run around, oh, he can heal himself. Like, they tried to make him too much of a jack of all trades.
Mm-hmm.
And you can tell because his name is Jack Morrison.
Okay.
So the big thing that I did is I nerfed Sprint, honestly.
Okay.
I feel like he's an old guy. Sure, he's augmented. But Sprint now has a usage meter, again, like Diva Matrix, where he can sprint for 6 seconds at full charge. But it's not like you start shooting a soldier and he sprints away. And then he picks again, sprints away.
He can just
turns
run
back around, does some damage, sprints away. It's like, no, he can't do, because like no other hero other than Sombra who can't toggle her invisibility and is canceled by, taking damage,
Or
has
shooting.
a permanent speed buff like that unless you're Lucio.
Right.
And he's also not a damage hero with hit scan capabilities and self heal like that. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So I made it to where he can't just like sprint around the entire time and be unhittable. That's on like a 5 or 6 second maximum sprint with probably the same charge rate as Diva's Matrix, to be honest.
Hmm.
Because you should still be able to use it sometimes as like, oh, I gotta get out of here, like, sprinting and hitting the rocket jumps.
Right.
But it shouldn't be
Yeah.
like, oh, soldier's just gone.
Yeah, I never
You
really
start shooting at him,
considered
soldier's just
that.
gone.
Because I never considered how strong he could be on flashpoint maps because of that as well. He can get where he's going pretty quick because he has an unlimited sprint meter.
Literally.
Yeah. Huh. Cool. I thought you were just gonna have like a cooldown on it, like he can sprint, cancel it, all of a sudden it's on like a 3 second cooldown. That's what I thought you would do, not add a meter, but that's
Nah.
that's a cool change too. Bet I can
I
get
like giving
behind
people
that.
meters if you couldn't tell.
Yeah,
It's
I
kind of
could
fun.
tell. Okay, cool. Is that's it for Soldier then?
Yep.
Cool. Alrighty. Moving on to Sombra. I don't know how to feel about Sombra right now because she's either very useless or very effective, especially with people we play against.
I think
So-
Sombra is such a like skill-based hero. I was also afraid to touch her.
So I did buff and nerf and change her. So I buffed her in the way that I don't know about you, but when I am just using her primary fire, it does not feel effective at
No,
all.
it feels piddly.
It feels piddly. So I buffed it just by a little bit. Like I'm not
Yep,
sure what the
same.
shot. Okay, cool. Because not by much to where it feels like you're shooting her with like I don't know. I feel like Wrecking Ball does more damage than her, so like maybe similar, a little bit less to Wrecking Ball. I also changed her EMP in the sense of they upped the hack time to 3 seconds in her EMP, and I want that to go back down to I want to say 2 seconds, maybe 1.5 seconds, like it was before. 3 seconds just feels a bit too long. To where it's back to where it was before, to where your abilities are blocked and you just die when she uses it. So
Yeah.
I changed that to be a little bit less effective. Her new translocator, I changed how far she can throw that thing because it's a get out of jail free card. It's one of those abilities now. It's similar to Fade. It's similar to Wraith. So you can just throw that Johnny and it's gone because it goes so far. So I would change the distance on that. And that's all I made for Sombra. I think her hack is sitting at a decently good spot right now. So yeah.
So my changes to Sombra were a slight damage increase on her primary. She's so unimpactful, and with how strong healing is, it's like unless you're playing Sombra perfectly, you're just not getting a lot of value out of hacks or damage.
Mm-hmm.
But then I also made a change where she's never fully invisible. You can see like slight distortion around where she is, just so that it adds for like some amount of counterplay where Sombra's flanking. Oh, I think I saw like a little bit of distortion on, the background here. I'm gonna shoot there and try and get her. And it also just like makes it so Sombras can't just run around in the back line uncontested, and makes it more of like there's a skill to it.
Right. You wouldn't make it too noticeable though, like you wouldn't
it wouldn't be noticeable where like unless you were turning around and looking, you wouldn't really see it.
What if there was like a small like purple footprint or something? That could be decently weird.
No, just something to where like invisibility isn't just like, oop, I'm gone. And it's actually like there's some counterplay to it, and she's not just completely invisible, and you're like, well, great.
Yeah. For sure, bestie. You didn't touch EMP though?
Nope, I didn't touch EMP. I feel like that's one of the only things that gives Sombra value now, even if you're a bad Sombra, is just EMP.
Mm-hmm.
It's a really strong ultimate, but Sombra herself is it feels like you either get a really good Sombra or a really bad Sombra, and there's not any in between.
Mm-hmm.
So,
True.
I feel like EMP is fine where it's at currently.
Cool. Okay, Symmetra. Okay, you can start. I don't want to talk about this character right now.
So, Symmetra no longer receives charge off of barriers.
Oh, period.
period. She'll do a base damage of 75 per second to him, but it won't charge her up. So she can
Right.
be at the first charge and do 75, and then if she's fully charged and shooting a barrier, she can do like her 110 or whatever her final charge damage per second is. Unless she's fully charged already, when she's shooting at a barrier, it's not going to charge her or keep her charged.
Right. So it just has no
and then
effects.
the ult of her or the health of her ult, like barrier, is just halved. Way too much damage.
I also did that, but I just lowered it. I didn't half it.
I feel like there's no point in shooting at it.
No, there's not. It's like, okay, I popped this. Now you have to. now
Yeah,
you
it's
can't
half.
shoot us.
I also tossed around the idea of having it be like Lucio ult, where it has a lot of health at first and it decays rapidly over time. But I figure,
cool.
nah.
That,
just have it to start.
Yeah.
That's all I changed. I feel like her turrets aren't as car washy as they used to be. And teleport really isn't that strong of an ability unless your entire team is coordinated.
Right, exactly. I agree with you. Pretty much the same, although I took a different route to it. I changed how much damage she can do at level 3. Less. You take so much damage in level 3. And I also made it to where you degrade out of level 3 faster, to where you can't just stay in it for as long as you can. I get that you have to upkeep it, but it still feels like a bit too long, especially if there's a shield tank, like you say. So just faster degradation out of her 3rd level. And then I also made it so her ultimate cost is up like 20% or something, dude. She gets that thing way too fast. But I guess if I would be nerfing her overall damage, maybe not nerf that too much, 10-15% cost up, possibly.
Yeah.
And then I also did ultimate wall HP lower, pretty much the same as you. And then as a meme change, bring back shield generator, please. I need to hear Junkrat say, I think they have a shield generator. I need it, dude. And that's all I changed. So it's cool to see that we have similar views on Symmetra, because we went up against one on New Junk City yesterday. Seemed pretty impossible to get around. It was odd.
Yeah, just cringe.
Yeah,
just cringe. The shield just has too much health for an ult.
True. Cool. Moving on to Torbjorn, I will start. We're gonna start with the meme change. Make Hammer do more damage, please. It's
Wait, you cut out there. What'd you say?
Buff his hammer. Make it do more damage. It's a blunt object. Maybe add a stun to it as well if you hit people in the head. Okay. Meme change aside, I would nerf Molten Core. Completely remove the speed boost and give him less armor in it. And as well, I'm not sure if Torb has fall off on his primary fire. But a change I did add is give him fall off if he doesn't already. Because I can't tell you how many times I've just been dinked through the little slit on freaking Eichenwald. And when he's defending, and you just die because he can spam through it. I don't know if you've seen those Reddit clips as well. He just needs something, I think, a little bit with fall off. That's all I would change with Torbjorn.
All right. So I also didn't change a lot about him. My buff is turret can be mounted on walls now.
Oh, but Alari can't do it now. I
but
see
Alari
how it
can't.
is.
His has like all those little claws that could dig into the wall, you know? He throws it up, and it's still affected by his throw distance. It's just about like being able to position it in different spots. But then also, I nerfed turret and I decreased its range, because there's nothing less satisfying than having a turret do more damage to you as like a McCree. Yeah. As you shoot the turret for literally like 20 health. And it does more damage to you than you do to it. Right. Just because of how far away it's shooting you.
That's like, so disheartening.
It's like, bro, I literally cannot damage this faster than he's repairing it, and I'm a damage hero.
Yeah.
So it's either decrease its range or make it so that it's not affected by like DPS fall off damage.
Yeah. I can agree to that 100%. Cool. Is that
I just decided to decrease its range anyway.
Cool.
Yep, and that's my only change to Torb.
Sick. Bet. Okay. I surprisingly didn't touch Tracer that much. I made one change to her, and I just gave her recall, a longer cooldown, and that's it. that's all I did. I think her buff that she got recently with her pistols is probably fine unless we start seeing some dominant tracers. But I just made recall a longer cooldown, and I also tossed around the idea of it not rewinding you as far as it does. But I decided not to go with it. I just tossed around the idea.
So I didn't buff Tracer at all, and my nerf is that blink cooldown no longer happens during recall.
Oh, okay.
So it's like you can't, as you're recalling through time, you're not getting back a blink during that.
Right. Very slight nerf, but I like it.
Very slight nerf, and then I also just same thing with Sojourn, like her lean animation is just so intense. Like she's basically falling over as she runs.
You know what's funny actually? Before you continue, actually add on to her timer of cooldown because she's going back in time, so the timer should go up, not just stay there. Just give her more cooldown on her blinks.
I agree. I would agree to that, but I didn't want to nerf her blink cooldown because I feel like that's pretty ingrained in Overwatch at this point.
Yeah, it is iconic.
That's my change with Tracer. I didn't touch her a lot since I do feel like she has potential to be strong, but isn't always viable.
Yeah, because I don't know about you, but whenever I play her, I'm watching out to get one shot. I feel very glass cannon-y as Tracer, which she is, but I'm looking out to get headshot at every point. I don't want to die as her.
Yeah, exactly.
So um, we both agree that she didn't need much adjusting, so we could just straight move into Widowmaker, which I also didn't make much changes to. I didn't neither buff or nerf her. The only change I made is I removed her fall off completely. It is stupid that she is a sniper and has fall off. Be it's like 80 to 100 range or whatever it is. I just want to remove it 100% completely.
Interesting. I disagree with that because I feel like it allows for more counterplay because she can't literally be on the other side of the map just sniping you, and it's like, what are we going to do? We have
That's
to
a skill issue, bro.
It depends on the map for sure. But I feel like there's points where like you're just sniped from somewhere where you're not, it's like so far away from the point and you're like, I'm not even like trying to like fight here and you just killed me. And then you're like, nah. Especially on like ruins. It's like, bruh, you're all the way back there just fighting, and how am I supposed to go contest you unless I'm also gonna go Widowmaker or something like that, you know?
Yeah.
I actually buffed Widowmaker. I kept her fall off damage, but I made it so that hitting a fully charged headshot and eliminating a target will send out like a ping almost in like a circle where it'll ping the other enemies for just like a second. So boom, you get a kill, you get like a little sonar that plings off from her, and they're highlighted for a second, and you're like, oh, there they are. So it lets you chain your kills a lot better.
Interesting. All right, so it definitely gives it just more potential to see you through walls. Then is what you're getting at, right?
Yeah, it gives her more potential to see through walls and also just like be impactful instead of like, oh, I'm just sitting here waiting. Boom, get a pick, and now
I'm waiting.
That's my only.
Waiting.
Now I'm waiting. It's like you can be like, boom, I get a kill. Oh, they're rotating. I'm gonna take this spot here. You know?
Yeah, that's pretty cool change. I can get behind that. All right, Winton. Winton Overwatch. Monkey.
Winton.
Okay, I only buffed him because I don't know about you. He just does not seem, even with the armor change, very effective. Especially versus how strong like Mauga is right now. Mauga and like I went Orisa the other night to counter him, and he just could not do anything. Is what it felt like. So I gave him a slight damage buff on his right click and his primary, because it's always been Winston. It's always been tickle damage, but he needs a bit more versatility to keep up with what tanks are right now. So there's like not a whole lot of reason to play him when Orisa just exists, period. And then last change I made on him is make him do more damage when he lands on someone with his jump. Not necessarily stun like Mauga, even though it is a giant freaking gorilla that's jumping on you, but just more damage. And that's all I made for Winston.
Okay. I like that. So I also buffed his ult. But I added a new ability. His ult. Oh, well, I guess I considered like him jumping
big
around.
Jump. Okay, bet.
Yeah. But he has a new ability in his ultimate, which is a ground pound, which doesn't knock the enemy back. it's kind of annoying as Winston how in order to get a kill with your ultimate, you either have to be by a pit or get a squishy person into a corner.
And then whop, whop,
Yeah,
whop.
and I want him to have the option to not launch them back and do damage to them. I want him to be able to like slam them into the ground and do damage that way. And it wouldn't like actually put them in the ground. It just would do the same amount of damage without knocking them back.
Mm-hmm.
But then you'd still have the zoning ability for it. Because otherwise, I feel like Monkey Ult is used pretty defensively. Where it's
It
just like,
is.
oh, I'm low,
I can
ult,
pop it,
jump
yep.
out, hit people around a little bit, then jump out. And it's like that's not super effective.
Right. I can agree
And then
to
my
that.
other buff is his primary fire does more damage to
Okay.
shielded heroes. So like Zarya, Zen, Symmetra, people who have shields or over shields like Mauga and then Wrecking Ball, Winston does more damage to because of his Tesla cannon. and
More
how it goes
damage,
through, like
not just
yeah.
even
So to the
more.
shielded part, yeah, it just does more damage because
Okay.
like only to the shielded part of their health though. Like once that wears off, it's the same
That's
amount of damage.
normal?
But like he can literally zap through shields. So
That
he should do more damage to shields in my mind.
that would definitely give people an incentive to play Winston for sure.
Exactly. Like he would have a better place in the comp.
Right. Cool. I like.
And it would more solidify him as like kind of someone who is like kind of a counter to Zarya in some ways. You know?
Yeah. Which I feel like there's not much of that with Zarya right now. She feels pretty solid in every matchup, I would say, except probably Malaga right now because he's just dominant.
Yeah.
So, and even then, I think she does okay. Moving on to the Hampter, Wrecking Ball, Hammond. I didn't buff him at all, even though I don't think he's good right now at all. I nerfed him and changed him. I changed the amount of shields he gets from the amount of people he's next to. I don't know how much he actually gets. All I know is he gets too much. So he'll swing in, slam down, shield, shoot you for a little bit, wait for hook to come back, and then hook out, and he'll just you would get no ultimate from that as well, because you shooting those shields he gets does not give you ult charge, which is the change I also made to where you get ult charge from those shields that he puts on himself. So change the amount of shields he gets when he absorbs and let you get ult charge when you shoot it. Those are the only changes I made to him.
Okay. I buffed him actually. I gave him a spread decrease so that he can be a little bit more effective at damaging people from range. Just a little bit. No damage, no extra damage, just more bullets hitting in theory. And then I nerfed Minefield's duration from being 20 seconds to 12.
I forgot that existed.
20 seconds is way too long for those things to just sit there.
I completely forgot that existed. I'd probably do that too.
But I also made it so that at the end of Minefield, the remaining bombs that like weren't destroyed or exploded, they explode.
Okay.
So it's almost like he has a bomb the field attack where the enemy can either just take out the bombs normally, but they're also more incentivized to shoot them instead of waiting it out.
Yeah.
They also now there's less time to do that.
Right. I can see that, but at the same time, how big would the explosion be? Because all you can do is just get away from them.
Exactly. But my biggest thing was just like making it so that they don't stick around as long, because 20 seconds is ridiculous.
True. I can definitely get behind that. 100%. Anything else we're talking about?
Nope.
Cool. Okay, Zarya. So Zarya, if Mauga did not exist, I still think Zarya would be very, very well sitting in the meta right now.
I agree.
Because she does good against Doomfist and Orisa, who are both very good tanks. So I nerfed her. I gave her longer cooldown on her bubbles. I didn't change her decrease on her power or how much power she gets from her bubbles. I believe that's always been 40. Has that ever been changed?
Nope.
Okay, cool. So I didn't touch that at all. I buffed her in the sense of well, actually I did touch it. I just completely contradicted myself. Slightly slower power degrade. If she is gonna have bubbles less, she would have to stay powered a little bit more consistently, not by much, but just to compensate for having less bubbles, she would be able to stay powered just a little bit longer. And that's all I made for her.
Interesting. I can respect that.
Mhm.
I went for a different route. I think Zarya is really well situated right now. My
Mhm.
only nitpick is you're really not incentivized to bubble your teammates unless you
Yeah.
out of necessity. So I made it so Zarya receives 30 damage from self bubbles, like 30 charge,
Mhm.
but 50 from teammate barriers.
Okay. So
So
that
like if you
way,
hit two fully charged, like two good bubbles on a teammate, be up to 100 charge, but if you still hit one good bubble on yourself and then another good bubble on a teammate, you're still up to 80 charge, which is what you would
right,
be if you just bubbled yourself twice.
right.
So it incentivizes more team play.
I like that, but and I do agree that does definitely counter the Zarya running in, has two bubbles. 8 seconds later, she's got another bubble. It just sometimes is
Exactly. And it makes it
frustrating to
so
go
that
against.
yeah, and then like you're not like, "Oh, I popped her bubble. Now she's at 80 charge." It's like, "Okay, she's only at 60 charge."
Yeah.
So it is kind of a nerf, but also if you're bubbling your teammates, like it's not a huge deal anyway.
No. True.
Like it'll be a lot easier to maintain that 100 charge if every bubble gives you 50.
Right. Something I didn't consider is bubbles removing status effects. Would we keep that? I think we
I feel
would.
like that's fair. Yeah, I feel
Yeah.
like that's okay.
Yeah.
Because especially when tanks get so like obliterated by anti or Discord is so strong
Hmm.
anyway, having Zarya be kind of a counter to both of those is like I don't hate that she has that as like her
No.
special ability.
Yeah, because if Orisa can have fortified, then Zarya should be able to have something like that.
Especially because, like I said, like paired against Zen, where it's like, okay, she counters his Discord, but his alt counters her alt. It's like a nice little like play off of each other where one's not broken into the other, you know?
Yeah, true, true, true. Cool. I'm glad we somewhat agree on that. All right. Last, the best of all the game, we have Zenyatta. You can go ahead and get started with the old monk.
I buffed him, and it is to take into account all the other changes that I made, like with
Mhm.
McCree losing his sticky, Hinder is basically out of the game unless you're in Malga's alt now. To me, I made it so that discorded targets receive a cooldown increase on their
Oh.
ults, where while they're discorded, it is 20% slower. So a 10-second cooldown becomes 12 seconds. But it's only on healers and supports. So that way, like, if you're a tank and you're playing into Zen, it's not like, oh, we need a Zen, otherwise we're gonna lose this. Like, I'm just never gonna have my abilities at the
Mhm.
same time as their tank. Right. So it doesn't happen on tank, but like if a Genji goes in to attack you, right, and you're Zen and you hit him with Discord, now it's not like he's just in there kind of consequence free unless you're good at hitting your shots. It's like, all right, he's taking this engagement. You're a support with zero movement abilities.
Mhm.
Now you have more of a chance, you know.
Yeah.
But
Interesting.
I didn't want it to be like a big tank thing where it's like you're Orisa, you get discorded. Now all of your cooldowns are literally like you have 2 seconds longer on them, and freaking the enemy Zar or Orisa just has cooldowns so much faster than you. I didn't want it to be like
Yeah.
ruining tanks' lives.
I mean, true. How much would be the increase again? Like you said,
20%, 20%.
20%. So not
But this
very much at
maintains the
all.
nerf where it's like if they're out of range for 1 second, Discord is
Mhm.
off of them and they can't get it again for 7 seconds.
Right. Which, if
So with
you,
that, I feel like it's not unfair to have Discord like increase your cooldowns where they're slower when you're going in the back line of a team trying to flank the Zen. It like puts him at more of like an even spot where it's like, all right, you're taking this fight, you can't just get out of here. You can't just blink out as Tracer now.
yeah,
Because now instead of waiting 3 seconds, you have to wait 4 seconds per each blink.
yeah, exactly. I can definitely get behind that. Although if it would feel kind of useless if, I mean, I understand that you were how you were explaining it, but I would argue it wouldn't be as useful with the 1 second behind walls because one of my buffs is to increase how long it stays on them after they're out of sight to at least like 2.5 seconds because it just feels like you don't get too much value from Discord anymore. And I realize Discord is this controversial ability because it can be so strong. But I do think it needs a bit of help because I was going against a Zen yesterday as Orisa on Samoa, and I wasn't getting melted as much as I should have been with the existence of Discord. So I feel like it does probably need a little bit of help in my opinion.
Fair.
But did you have anything else with Zen? Really?
I think
that
he's
was
in
it.
a pretty good like skill-based spot right now. Just with the other changes that I was making to McCree and like the kind of flanking hero killers, and obviously with Genji now doing more damage and having a better
right.
melee to me, it was like Zen should have a little bit more help to deal with these flankers.
Right. I get that 100%.
I also tossed around having it to where Harmony Orb like increased cooldowns, but I was like, no, that could be broken if you throw Harmony Orb on a Genji who just jumps in the backline and now he has deflect all the time,
Or
dash
Tracer.
all the time. Like,
Tracer
yeah,
blink.
literally. It'd be really broken.
Yeah. So I definitely see why you didn't go with that. Okay. I made a slight nerf to trans. Not in the way you would think. I think the healing is fine. That being said, similar to my change with Kiriko TP, I think it needs a little bit of a startup. That way it could be a little bit more punishable because it's instant. And I get that Zen might need that sort of get out of jail free, especially with his movement options, which is none. So he might need it, but I am throwing around the idea of adding a tiny bit of a startup animation similar to like Beat. Not quite that long maybe, but let's like say he does like some clap animation to like get it started or something along those lines. Not just put arms out and experience freaking tranquility. So I just think it does maybe need a little bit more. You need to be a tiny bit more careful when using it. But I think when you Discord someone, the sound effect should now be bass boosted. So you just hear whoa. And then to give him a movement ability, I would let him walk. But he would be Spider-Man, so he would walk up walls.
Oh,
Yeah.
So that's the only time he uses his leg.
Yeah. He only uses his leg to walk up walls.
He goes up to a wall and just floats up sideways.
Yeah, you just see him completely horizontal standing on a wall walking. Oh, that would be so good. Okay, well, I guess that was it. I don't know if these choices would actually be healthy for the game or not, but I think they do think we have a good idea of what Overwatch would need to be somewhat of a better game instead of making Soldier and have a cap on how much she can degrade. What was that?
I honestly feel like I should commission someone to add all of these changes to the current patch.
Oh.
And just see how it plays, man. I feel like that'd be really fun.
How do you commission that sort of thing though? Like the workshop doesn't exist.
I don't know. Oh, true. That's right. Never mind.
Yeah, it would be. You just get Levi to do it. But anyways, thank you, Sky, for joining me on this very long episode of But Why. But if you stuck through it all, then hey, Sky, throw in something for me to edit in as an Easter egg if they got to the end.
Edit in the picture of you waving in the mirror.
Okay, I'll do that, I guess. Here you go. It's a 6-year-old picture, I want to say, around that time.
You're definitely older than that.
Oh my gosh, shut up. Alrighty, I'm heading out. Freaking peace. Thanks for watching. Bye.
Peace. Bye.